Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spawncast episode 308. I was holding out, waiting for I think Sean, because he was going to give some thoughts on Wolong Through the Cloud. But I assume he's popping in some. MVG's running a little late too, but we were going to start up closer to 9, but we were holding out hope. But either way, they'll randomly pop in, I'm sure, as we go along. But we still have some
swinging through later. Or something
yeah. We'll see MVG come through later on, and maybe Nate. So we'll get him in here. But we still have some people here. We got Evan. Evan was just talking. You heard Evan?
Yep.
Evan is here. Good to have Evan. I think Dreamcast guy or Max, he's
dodging tornadoes.
There's like a tornado or something over there. So he's like, I don't know if I'll even have power. So we'll see. And then we do have OJ, Player Essence, holding up the pre-show. He was here.
Yeah, it was fun pre-show, guys. Once again, really good numbers. Now we're actually pushing towards 600 on the pre-show beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's getting there. We were mid 550 something, so it's getting now towards 600. So yeah, make sure you guys check out the pre-show before this one. Usually goes up around 4:30 p.m. PT, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, pre-show is going good, man. Thank you guys for coming through.
We got Jordan Fringe. Jordan's here.
Glad to be here. It was the Pokemon Day this past week. We had a lot of Pokemon celebrations. I put out like 3 hours worth of Pokemon content, and it's been a lot of Pokemon this week. So I'm here to talk about it.
I liked your Pokemon spin-off video. That was cool.
Thank you. That was a fun one too to put together.
Yeah. I like that type of content. Looking at those like obscure games in the past.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was going down this week, starting with that Pokemon Presents that happened that led into all kinds of talk about Twitch 2. So we got all that stuff to go over there.
Final Fantasy talk.
Got Final Fantasy 16.
Can't use JRPG. Can't use that term anymore. It's a banned term.
Yeah. Got Square Enix. Got some all kinds of stuff happening over there. They got
Final Fantasy Civil War.
Yeah, there's like a civil war going on there with Final Fantasy. There's some leadership changes coming up.
Oh yeah.
Luminous Productions gets shut down basically because of Forspoken. It was a wild week. There's stuff all over the place. And then we had Wolong Fallen Dynasty release this week as well. So there's a lot going on.
Did it get overshadowed by like Final Fantasy somewhat?
I don't know, because I haven't seen as many people talk about it as I was thinking they would.
Yeah.
But there's also some issues, I think, with the PC version and stuff.
It was Game Pass though, right?
It was. Yep. It is Game Pass.
Usually like a release that big on Game Pass is going to get far more buzz, like the Atomic Heart game or whatever,
So we can go over all that stuff tonight, including the Wolong's games. I've actually been playing quite a bit of it, so I have some stuff to say on that. I wanted to get Sean's take on it because he doesn't really like the Souls games as much. I kind of think he'll be okay with this one though. It's a little different.
Yeah, because it's like Neo. It's much more like a Neo style of game from the demo that I played.
Yeah,
it felt like Neo.
There's another game from Team Ninja that's kind of reminded me of too. So. A little bit of Ninja Gaiden in there.
Ninja Gaiden. Okay.
A little bit. I'm seeing it come through here as I get further in. Evan, did you want to start us off with a Discord question there, though?
What is everyone's least favorite modern gaming practice?
Least favorite modern gaming practice.
The game's not being done when they ship out.
Mine's remasters.
Battle Royale for me.
Oh, I love Battle Royale. No, I've turned around on it.
Least favorite. I guess. No, I was gonna say having to install a game when you pop it in, but at this point, it's basically
that is annoying.
Accepted. And now I think the games download faster on like a PS5 or an Xbox, and then they install from a disc. So once again, we're getting to a point where that'll become more convenient once again, even though you have the disc physically or something. Maybe it is that. I was gonna say always online stuff, but then I'm always online anyway. So I'm trying to think of what for me specifically. I guess it would be that.
I don't know. What's that thing that's Suicide Squad is like the gear ratings and like
the light levels. I hate that. That's a room Destiny for me.
Yeah. Where you have like, I have like a level 7 bracer that powers up and glows, and then you can get the same one, but it has a slightly different thing to it.
What happened to just leveling up?
Yeah. What
It's
not
easy to
cool enough.
understand. It's easy to understand. Okay, cool. I'm level 10 now. That makes sense. Oh, but my armor's level 7, so that gives me a boost up to level 13.
Well, for those games, since they're trying to continue them forward, it's for them. They found it was better to have your character stop leveling and then have the gear take over the stats, so that they can just keep releasing content without having to add the character levels. It's just made it easier.
Add the levels. Borderlands does it in that DLCs. They just say, here's another 10, 15 levels. You know,
sometimes
cool.
it works sometimes, but sometimes you get skill bloat in a lot of games where you get like 20 extra skills and you're like, what the hell am I even doing anymore?
You know what game I was watching the other day? I was watching the original God of War, like a retrospective on that game, just because I wanted to watch it, and like that game handles it so good. So good. You just get red orbs and you just upgrade, and then each time you upgrade, there's like 5 levels, it's max. You don't even want to use any other weapons. That one weapon is good enough. Just those 2 blades, good enough for the whole game, and it feels fresh the whole time. Compared to these games that release, and it's like you have 15 million weapons, and you're just like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We have another Discord question, Evan.
How many Game Pass subscribers do you think Microsoft would lose if they switched to first-party games being released on there a year later rather than day and date?
Ooh.
Can you say that again? You were like I kind of lost you there.
What? Okay. Was I cutting? Okay.
I heard him.
All right. How many
might have
Game
been.
Pass subscribers do you think Microsoft would lose if they switched to first-party games being released on a year later rather than day and date?
Well, I mean, they haven't really released a lot of any first-party games and like big ones, other than they just did Hi-Fi Rush. But before that, it went a while, and I feel like they had just been kind of slowing down or plateauing. And an announcement like that wouldn't help them any. So unless the thing that was being mentioned is a cheaper iteration, so you have like the baseline light Game Pass where you get stuff later, timed like exclusive to the more expensive tier and all this. But I think it was across the board that would definitely knock their subscribers down.
I think they would call the higher tier Game Pass Plus just to like be assholes or something.
I don't know. I don't know what would they call they had Xbox Live Gold, and they used to have Xbox Live Silver. Remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know if they do
that.
Game Pass Gold and Silver. Maybe have Game Pass Platinum or something.
That sounds good. Game Pass Gold, Game Pass Silver.
Yeah, that's easy enough to kind of understand. Just yeah, I could see that. That would be bad. But I don't mind them trying to do different tiers and figure out ways to make it even cheaper if they can. One thing that was floated also was like having commercials play before you go into a game, and they try to get Game Pass to be almost free.
Oh,
so
I don't know about all. I wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch a 4-minute commercial between playing a game? Or?
Well, if that's the case, you just pay for it. You just go, yeah, that's fine. I'll just like how we have YouTube, where you have YouTube Premium. If you don't want to watch commercials, then if you do, you just YouTube Premium.
Man, I don't know, just
commercials
taken away. Like I get it, but like, where's the physical copy of Hi-Fi Rush, man? Like it just seems like they're holding that digital
I don't
Game
think
Pass
that's
hostage.
Hey, it's gonna be a code in the box.
I'm still waiting for that. That game looks like it'd be such a cool game to have, just like sitting on the shelf, like a collector's edition. I don't know.
They would have a lot of fun with the collector's edition, with some really cool art books and stuff. The box art, they'd have a lot of fun with that, I think.
Dude, you can do a super expensive one with a guitar. Like,
guitar.
Yeah.
Shift the guitar.
I feel like you only make like 5 of those and just see who wants them.
And all 5 would sell.
That's right. I remember that. There was a skateboard.
Look, there's a skateboard in Tony Hawk. And we all bought it.
That was really cool.
Right? Did you guys buy it, right?
Yeah, I think everyone did, because I mean, I still need that underground. I still need 3 and 4. You know,
you're right. Jordan, you bought it, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. We all Evan didn't, but most of us bought it.
Evan got it in spirit.
You got it in spirits. Let's we can start with the Pokemon stuff, Jordan.
Start with Pokemon?
Let's start with Pokemon. The Pokemon Presents.
Sure, let's talk about some Pokemon.
All right, Jordan. I think you enjoyed this more than basically any of us.
You know, it's funny. It's exactly what I expected it to be, and I was only weirded out beforehand that they were hyping it up too much for the general public, because it's just a random anniversary. Like, it's not a 25, it's not a 30th, but it is the 27th, and the game came out on the 27th, 27 years ago. So I'm like, okay, maybe there might be something here. They sent out stuff to some Pokemon YouTubers, like they try to make it feel like this big event, and I was like, okay, it's kind of weird for this random year to have like a lot here, and everything I predicted minus any spin-off game really showing up there was there. Pokemon Sleep was lightly announced for what it was, with a release date for later this year that has some integration with Pokemon Go and the worst named item, the Pokemon Go Plus, which is cool.
You want me to fire through? I have all the announcements in front of me. I can fire through them very quickly. Let's go through them.
Yeah.
Pokemon World Championships commercial. Yeah. Pokemon Trading Card Game Classic.
Which looks really cool, by the way. I did like that. Yeah.
That'll be a fun thing, which will be unveiled at Pokemon Worlds in Japan.
Is that just the cards, or is that because that whole set looked ridiculous? But is it just the card element of it?
No, I believe it's like
that whole like surface area and like
that's kind of cool. I'll admit that's kind of cool.
The damage counters are nuts. Like they actually have like cone-shaped damage counters.
The thing where you had to like throw it into that little spiral dish to like get to something. Oh, that was weird.
It is like the luxury of ridiculousness for Pokemon card games.
No pricing was announced.
No pricing. I think it'll be between $200-$300 if I have to assume.
Wait, does that come with? It comes with all the base cards and everything too?
It'll come with something like that. It should come with two. I'm guessing it would come with two different decks, or like just an assortment.
At Charizard, Venusaur, and I believe they showed Blastoise too.
So they showed off the Celebration-esque looking cards of the original ones, and like Chansey and Mewtwo and stuff like that. Then they also showed like a Ho-Oh EX and Lugia EX and a Suicune EX that were like brand new for like the older EX generation, which is just coming back now as a new format for the card games with Scarlet and Violet this month. So it's just a really cool set. It's for fans of the classic. At first, I thought they were announcing that like legally that they were going to allow like a side way to play like the classic version of Pokemon, since they're bringing back the original Pokemon trading card game for like the Nintendo Online. Like, okay, you can play the old school way of playing as opposed to the new way of playing. But regardless, it's like a premium thing. It's like a premium, like, hey, if you want to relive the older stuff and you want to have like a very nice premium set, it's a cool thing,
So we had that Netflix's Pokemon Concierge, Pokemon Unite update, Pokemon Cafe Remix update, Pokemon Sleep with the Pokemon Go Plus, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet updates, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC, Area Zero, Hidden Treasure Area Zero. That is they're gonna have one out later on this year in the fall, and then the other one is winter 2023, which I guess technically if they just go to winter and drop 2023,
it could be early next year.
It's possible, yeah. But
that was the guarantee that was going to be here. DLC, was DLC. That's what most people were waiting for, and that was the grand finale. We got our Split 2 DLCs that apparently will lead into the next one, so it'll be it's a build up where that final one should release like that new like turtle shell Pokemon is supposed to be like the third legendary, and if you look at it, it's kind of shaped like the region. It has something to do with the terrestrializing, where it has every element involved, so I'm sure it'll have a big story leading up to that. It seems cool. We got to see a few new Pokemon. We got the announcement of about 230 Pokemon previously that are now coming back between both of the DLCs, which is also pretty cool. But it was the standard affair. The show was, I wouldn't say overly too exciting. I think there was if you had tempered expectations, this was exactly what the show was going to be. I still expected maybe one sort of spinoff to be shown there, whether that would have been a new mystery dungeon or just a tease of something. But if there is going to be any more teases, maybe something in the middle of the year, where where we get like an announcement of another Legends game or something of that sort.
I'll tell you the only thing that really disappointed me, Jordan, is there was no Game Boy game going into the online service. My expectations going to it, I'd been like, okay, cool, that's fun.
I knew that wasn't going to be there, because like Pokemon and Nintendo are very weird with those releases, and as much fun as it would be for them to just put it on the Nintendo Online, like I said last time I was on, it's like, who knows what they're going to do with them, because they could easily say they're $10 each and people are going to buy them.
Oh, they'd make a ton of money from that. So that's why what my hang up is too. It's like, man, it makes so much more sense for them to just sell it like from their corporate business strategy perspective than to just drop it in the service. Although they might get a lot of people who are sitting on the fence to be like, I guess and especially if they put a Game Boy Advance Pokemon game. What if they just did Fire Red and Leaf Green and there was no red and blue or yellow or anything? They just put that in the $50 tier.
I think
that would have been great.
I think people would still be excited for that because I mean those games are still highly loved. That's like a because then we're getting into a territory of like the remembrance and the nostalgia for the remakes, right? Like there's people out there who are just nostalgic for the Fire Red and Leaf Green games, but not the original, Red and Blue, right? So there is a level that people would be excited for there, and there's going to happen with Heart Gold and Soul Silver instead of the regular Gold and Silver games eventually, and it's just how Nintendo or Pokemon just in general wants to navigate this and how they want to push forward these releases because it's only a matter of time, honestly, before something has to happen with them. At this point, they can't just leave them behind. They're going to make a new version of them, re-release the old stuff, re-release the re-releases, or figure out how to remake it for a fourth time.
Because the on 3DS, they're there, right? Like you have Pokemon
all the way first and second generation.
Yeah, you have a lot of them. So yeah, I think that's what everyone was kind of like maybe hoping for, that they would see that. Although I saw people saying like they're going to release, like they want them to release like red, blue, yellow, fire red, leaf green. Like they were going to. I'm like, guys, come on, they're not going to release all that fucking on that one day. They're not going to do all that. But I was hoping maybe for like fire red, leaf green or something like that. Maybe like one of them come out and say, hey, maybe more later, or at least announce like a collection, like even like a collection, like a physical collection of the multiple games that you can pick between. I think I'd spend a ridiculous amount of money on that.
I think even more so like a hub, like an additional hub you can get for like the Switch, where it's like the Pokemon, like you even call like one of their spin-out games, the Pokemon channel, where you pay whatever the cost is and it updates and adds like smaller, like it's like, okay, here's your generation 1 games, there's generation 2, and it updates stuff and adds things, or it's an additional extra service, like instead of the $50 a month, if you pay $55 a month, you get access to the Pokemon stuff. I don't know, not that I want that, but at this point it seems like Pokemon in general is going to need some form of compensation for these older games. So it's just really depending on how they put them out there. But yeah, I get, for the Direct overall, it's fine. It was a very fine Direct. Nothing too exciting, nor would I say disappointing. It was exactly at bare minimum what it should have been. Here's the Pokemon DLC. Here's a couple extra things you didn't know about. Finally, here's Pokemon Sleep, and then that was about it. Nothing too crazy.
We got a patch as well that they released. They have a lot of bug fixes. Nothing really improvement for substantial performance or anything yet. So I don't know if you got a chance to play it since that patch, Jordan.
I have not.
Okay.
I did. And yeah, nothing from what I can tell outside of, like sometimes there was this area for me at least that would hard to hitch every single time. I guess that I went back to that same area near the beginning of the game that it didn't happen there again, but it could just be random. And then people don't like cross you up, like when you're like fighting against other people, like they don't like start like walking between your battles, like none of that is happening, but pretty much the same.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the patch here soon, because that's part of that apparent posting on 4chan that got basically all this stuff right and mentioned a different kind of patch. So we'll get into that when we get to the Switch 2 rumors. Evan, do you have a Discord question here? Anything about either the Switch 2 or the
what are people's
stuff?
Opinions on Pokemon Sleep?
Oh my gosh. Pokemon Sleep is still weird. I mean, it got announced, what was that, 4 years ago or something? It was like 2019. And I mean, it's just going to monitor sleep. And basically, the one thing they have right about it is everyone can technically play it. Like, everyone's sleeping at some point, so you can play it. And I guess it kind of goes in line with, they're trying to integrate this with like way of life and improvement and stuff, because they have the Pokemon, is it called Pokemon Shine, Jordan, or Pokemon Bright, where it's where you're brushed for the kids and they brush their teeth and everything with it?
Yeah, they had some sort of teeth brushing game, some incentive to brush your teeth. And
then Pokemon Go is about going outside or walking and moving around and stuff. And now we have this is it's kind of pushing people to get more sleep. So
I don't know. It just seems, not that it's too weird, but monitoring sleep.
A lot of tracking going on now that I'm thinking about it over at Game Freak.
Monitoring your sleep, like through your phone. I mean, I guess you could, but to really monitor your sleep, you need to actually have stuff.
Yeah, you gotta have stuff hooked to you.
Yeah, this doesn't really, and that's what I said. Like this, I've had my sleep monitored before because when I was in school for kinesiology, we had certain things that we did for that, where they would monitor your sleep and we would look at the results and the difference between like a well-rested athlete compared to somebody who doesn't get enough rest and like the performance between them. They would do that with some of the athletes. So I'm used to that, and I saw the crap that they had hooked in and like what would happen. And I've seen monitoring of sleep, and your phone can't monitor your sleep.
It's interesting because like you can have Fitbits and stuff that can monitor your sleep because it's connected to like your pulse and all of this around your wrist, but your phone is just on your bed. So I guess it just use like the accelerometer and stuff to monitor movements. I'm not really sure what they're doing with it. It's interesting.
I guess you'd have to put it on your bed, but like I mean the concept of it, like, is it just that you press a button, it's like I'm going to bed, then you just stare at the ceiling for like
I'm
4
gonna be
hours?
the best one. I'm just always gonna press that button and just always be asleep then.
I sleep from morning to morning again. Here we go.
That's the thing. I feel like it's whenever it's coming out, actually, I guess like the next couple of months or something, the way they're talking about it, and then everyone will put it through its paces and someone will obviously figure out how to cheese the system. So
look, they should have just released like a Fitbit, like a watch. Like I think that, and then having this thing connected to it, I think that probably would have been kind of more like dope, like a smartwatch, like a smartwatch.
They have the Go Plus.
The Go Plus.
Maybe that's what sits on your bed.
They probably will have you sit that on your bed, but I don't know. We'll have to see it in practice when it comes out. Everyone will try it, I'm sure, at least once just to see, and then we'll go from there with it. You have another Discord question, Evan?
We got, besides the post-game content on Pokemon, does anyone on the Spawncast do any shiny hunting?
No,
I don't. Wow, Jordan doesn't. I'm actually surprised. I thought you would.
I don't have time for that.
That's a time sink and a half.
Okay. I never got into the shiny hunting stuff. I just remember back in the day with like gold and silver when that came out, it was a big deal. There was red Gyarados, and then occasionally you would find one in the wild. But I never got into that, like trying to fill out your entire Pokedex or box with just shiny Pokemon. Because then people go from that to also doing what the EV or IV, whatever it is, training, and that is such a crazy meta to get into. A lot of time. Well, I was trying to hold out for Sean, but let's move over to Wolong Fallen Dynasty before we go to the Switch 2 stuff that is connected to the Pokemon stuff. So Wolong is out. It came out Friday. Did hit Game Pass as well as PC, PlayStation, and the PC version's kind of busted. It seems like they just ported the PS5 version to it because when you turn it on, it asks if you want to do prioritize frame rate or prioritize resolution on PC. That's very weird. And all the PlayStation prompts are there, the buttons and everything. So unfortunate stuff. But I did download it on Game Pass. I played it on the Series X, and I've been playing it actually quite a bit. I picked it up. Actually, once it dropped, I just grabbed it at midnight, and then I started playing it the next morning after I let it install and all this. And I've been playing it ever since. I am really enjoying this game. This is good. It is more similar to Neo as opposed to a Souls game like a Dark Souls, or this is kind of closer to Sekiro as well, but nothing like how when I played Elden Ring, kind of the feel of that. This feels more arcadey, and it is getting closer and closer to some of the Ninja Gaiden feel, I think, that they had at Team Ninja. So they also introduced the morale system, and I like this concept. So every area you go into, there's a temporary level that also lines up with your main level. So you'll level up as you go through. You get like the essence or souls or whatever you want to call it, and you spend that to move up different points. So you have like, your health, you can move up your attack, your spirit, and part of that is stealth. Strangely, it's like linked to one of those power-ups that you move the number up for. But you have your main level, and then you have your morale level or your spirit level that's specifically tied to each area. And when you go in, you're always 0 for that area. And as you go around, you'll get different points that you plant flags in, and that raises up your base level. So if you die, you can't go below that level, but you can basically grind up that temporary level and then just start slapping enemies around that are like, if you're 10, you're just going to crush a level 5 that's specific to that area. And it basically makes you go into each area looking to build up a level next to your main level. And essentially conquer that level, because as you find these points, you will then just have a base level that stays there. So you go back there after finding them. They're hidden throughout that area. And it sounds kind of weird, but when you're actually doing it and you're looking for these points, I think it works pretty nicely. I do. So the way they have it with their dodge and parry and their blocking, you have just a block button and it's not tied to the parry button. So you basically have to choose, my blocking or my parrying this attack. And in order to dodge, that's also linked to the parry, where you have to double tap, in this case B, on the Xbox controller. So the combat's pretty smooth. There are times where you kind of get caught. I've gotten caught on a wall sort of, or in a corner or on a rock, and it sort of threw my character off a bit. But you have different weapons, dual katanas, single strong sword. You have the halberd, big spears, magic's involved. There's a lot going on with this game, but there's seemingly constantly something going on. And I think this is also a Souls-like game that is very approachable, and it feels fairly easy. So I'm not having a hard time with it yet. But I also understand, being like 5 or 6 hours in, this is apparently like a 30-hour game. So I'm sure there's going to be that boss that'll drive me up a wall when I'm playing it. The stealth isn't great in the game. Get it sneaking behind an enemy, not very good. There's no button to crouch down and quiet your character or slow them down. It's basically slightly tilt your controller stick and move forward. That's the sneaking in the game. But I do like it. I'm going to continue with it. And I do recommend it as well. I think this was a good pickup on Game Pass for Microsoft, making the move to get that done with Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo. So if anything, you got Game Pass, I recommend downloading it, trying it out. I would relate it closer to, I guess, Neo, but it is close to Sekiro as well with the feel. But it hasn't felt like anything with Elden Ring or a Bloodborne or a Dark Souls yet. So that is my take. I like Wolong. I highly recommend it, even if you're not a Souls fan. And Evan, if they ever fix the PC version, I recommend it there too.
I might check it out.
Yeah, apparently there's a bad stuttering issue with it. There's I don't know. What a shame. I don't know who did was it Team Ninja? I don't know if they did the PC port, but it doesn't look like they did much of it.
2 games in a row for Koei Tecmo having bad PC ports.
Yeah,
Wild Hearts was not good on PC. And even still, at this point, it's still not.
I heard that was exceptionally bad.
That was rough. It was rough. They did a patch, and I was watching my guy play the game. He said it's 40 something frames per second, kind of which is better than what it was, but still not up to what PC players would want.
Yeah, but a lot of the streamers got these top tier cards for the most part, like the bigger streamers
streaming, and they're just
theirs are streaming too. They're struggling too with their stream with this Wild Hearts game.
The guy has a 3080.
Yeah. Wild Hearts does not look like a game that should struggle like that with a 3080, just visually speaking.
Yeah, so that's 2 for Koei Tecmo.
I hope they fix this Wolong game for PC, because I think the PC community really get behind this one. This is I like the game. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, it was there was 70 something thousand people. I think I saw concurrent streamers on launch day. That's really good for that game.
Yep.
You play a broken release at launch, that's not going to help your numbers.
I'm telling you, the way I'm seeing them evolve with these Neo games now, Wolong, I kind of think Team Ninja is working towards a Ninja Gaiden game. I don't know. They keep going. It just feels like they're getting closer and closer back to that.
They said
this being another. Well, yeah, but this one is they really are getting closer to that. It feels more and more like a Ninja Gaiden game as they've made these games with Neo.
But what kind of Ninja Gaiden? You think they're going to go linear, or do you think they'd try to figure out how to open world it?
When the enemy comes at you with one of their special moves that knocks down your level, so your level can subtract and add, so that you can have part of your level taken away from you by an enemy if you don't block a certain ability. Dude, when you block parry one of these big moves, it kind of has a flash where I was like, oh, that looked kind of like Ninja Gaiden there, because you're flipping around, the camera does that clean cut and stuff, and you look really cool doing it. I'm like,
I think they might go almost not in the same direction, but maybe something kind of crazy and make him actually do a little bit more like action gameplay, but stealth too. I think they might make it more like a ninja.
I could see them refining this further, and Ninja Gaiden might come out. Let's say they do a new one, it might pull some stuff from a Souls game, just for Ninja. I could see that aspect, but still going a little further away from what we have here with Wolong. So I kind of seeing them build up a structure for a new one, which I think would be really cool. Because remember when Ninja Gaiden first showed up on like the 3D one on the original Xbox back then? It was like, wow, this is a tough game, but it's like a tough and fair game, and you feel really, really cool the whole way through once you get the hang of it.
Outside of the enemies attacking you and you can't see them because of the camera angles, it was fair. Outside of that,
like like Ninja Gaiden Black, when they put that updated version out, that was like peak right there. I know Ninja Gaiden 2 was really good too, but I don't know, something about Ninja Gaiden Black on the original Xbox, that hardware and how good the game looked and felt.
It was very good. Ninja Gaiden had been known for decades of being the most unfair bullshit ever. Like if you play like the original, like I mean, I started on the original Ninja Gaidens, and those games are just ridiculous. Like you know, so I was used to it. Even like with the camera, like you know, all that stuff. I was like, oh man, it's punishing difficulty. This is great, but 3D. You know, so it was fantastic. You know.
Yeah, I like Wolong. I fully recommend it. I'm gonna keep playing it. I'll go all the way through it. But I will admit I haven't had any issues with the bosses, or I've beaten quite a few bosses. I'm a little surprised how I'm kind of just going through this game. So I think there's going to be one that pops up and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, here it is. Finally, that big difficulty spike. But I will admit being able to change your level and kind of grind a little bit for that temporary level that then makes you stronger against the boss has helped a lot. So maybe if you do a run where you do, I guess, quote unquote, minimum like spirit levels where you can't go above whatever the flags that you're planning are, or maybe someone just tries to beat it completely at 0 all the way through. Maybe that's kind of the built-in difficulty, but it's Team Ninja. I'm telling you, this is a good one. They did good here. I like it. And again, Game Pass. Yeah, you download it, try it, see what you think. There's also demos, so you can just play the demo. So let's Evan, we have any Discord questions over there?
I mean, we are going to get into this. In honor of the Pokemon 4chan leak, what's the wildest rumor you've ever seen that turned out to be actually real?
Wildest rumor? Oh.
Wildest
rumor that turned out to be real.
I'm trying to think.
I know the Pokemon Let's Go stuff got posted on 4chan way early, and no one believed it because it's like, that's dumb. It happened.
Yeah, Pokemon Let's Go one might be the wildest one if I can just think back. Then there was also, I guess it wasn't so wild, but I mean there was the Sora Super Smash Brothers. The guy was like, yeah, I work for a company. Sora's the last.
Yeah, it's either that or it's probably MVG covered it because I do remember this with the Halo 4 barn leak. That was a good one too.
Yeah.
Because it was just so stupid and ridiculous, no one believed it, and then boom, it was real. The whole time.
Jeff Grubb said Microsoft was making a game with Kojima.
Oh, that's a good one too. There's Jeff Grubb. Yep. Yeah. All right. Let's. I was waiting for MVG's going to be in here, and I wanted him to discuss some of the Switch next gen. Switch 2 stuff. So
what's going on?
Let's MVG's here. Oh, he just popped in. Look at that.
With his hat and everything.
I wasn't even looking at the looking at the topics list I had here, and I didn't hear the Discord thing go off. MVG's here. Good to have MVG here. Got all the blue going on back. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, we don't know what happened to Sean. He posted pictures at one point of grapes, and he has a weird thing with grapes. So we assume he's just like he's grape combing out. He's just done.
Could be.
Who knows?
I like grapes too, but I don't eat them too much.
All right, cool. We got MVG here, so we can go into the Switch 2 rumors and leaks stuff.
Oh,
there was a lot of stuff going down with this one after a 4chan post that happened. Jordan, real quick, when you saw the 4chan post, did that surprise you a bit? Just the Pokemon stuff that was in there, that they seem to have everything right.
Not really. I'm just more so surprised that it was more to a T and not just like truth hidden among lies, you know?
Okay. It was just straightforward. It was here's this, this, and this, all the names. I don't even know how to pronounce those Pokemon names, but they spelled them all right. So they're all correctly spelled.
That was shocking to me that he actually got the exact names, because even like with Pokemon Go, like Let's Go and all that, it was just general things, right? Even though it ended up being correct. But this one was to the T, like the names. That was, this person he knows, like he has some actual part.
Whoever it is saw the information early. That's all we know. Whether it was through press or they're actually a programmer, or who knows. But they had the info early and they decided to go to 4chan with it a few days beforehand.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then at the end, they just kind of threw in the idea of them working on a patch for they came back and clarified next gen Nintendo system of some kind. They made sure to come back and specify, no, it's not a Switch Pro or mid-gen, whatever. This is for something completely different that Nintendo's bringing to market. And they also left another, I noticed this in the subject, left another one of those MD5 hashes. So I don't know if that's like, oh, I'm coming back at some point, but they left another one. So
he said that he's done. He's not going to talk anymore about it. That's what he said.
Okay.
Man.
It was interesting to see that was there. So I don't know if that was just if I have to come back, this is here, but if not, whatever, it's fine. I'm going. So that of course started the rumor mill big time for Switch 2 stuff. And I think it's just because the shock that, oh wow, this information was dead on, and they would be producing a patch for a next gen system. They said with DLC 2, although who knows, translations and stuff, they could have jumbled up the sentence some, but if it's coming alongside of that DLC, that would be the winter 2023, but again, winter could go into 2024, so it's somewhere in there. Basically, I would assume by March of 2024, April, there would be some new system at least having been announced by then.
Yep, I think you're right.
You think we're right, MVG? Think you're right?
Yeah. I think it's fair to. I think I would put money on that. That there'd be something before 2024. So I think it's. Look, this 4chan thing. I personally think, this is my opinion, I think it's all bullshit.
Oh,
right?
Okay. I like it. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like this person obviously got inside info about Pokemon before the announcement or the event that was shown, and he used that to build trust, right? And then he just kind of just throws in subtly that, oh yeah, we're working on next generation Switch. I don't personally buy it, and I also want to say that who else has corroborated? No one else has corroborated this info, and usually, that there's more people that come forward with this stuff. So I'm not sure if I believe this, right? I do believe there's an announcement of a new Switch coming at some point, later this year or early next year, but I'm not sure about the 4chan stuff. I feel like it's just a little too good for me.
It's lined up too well.
Yeah, it's just lined up too well. It's lined up too well. Go ahead, OJ. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to ask. I want to get your what do you? Just so I clarify. And sorry to interrupt. What do you think is that he's actually not working on anything? Do you think that that much bullshit?
I think no. I think he's obviously got some inside information about it. He's aware of this stuff, and he's working somewhere that obviously knows about this stuff. But I also don't believe he's working for a contractor outsourced studio.
I agree with you there. That's bullshit. I do agree with you that he's lying about that.
Because that would be something that I feel like could be connected back to the person, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't feel like this person's being honest, right? I feel like the information that he had that he announced is he got that information one way or the other, and that's indisputable. I'm not sure about the rest of the story that this person's giving.
You think it'd be like a friend of someone working at the graphic design company making stuff kind of deal? Like it's just
this person actually could be a dev, right? That's working on this stuff. But for an outsourced studio, I'm not sure if that story fits right. Like, it would make more sense to assume that this person works somewhere within Nintendo, and he mentioned outsourced company just to kind of throw the ninjas off. Maybe I don't know, but the story is just a little off for me.
That's exactly what I said. MVG. I was like, he's clearly saying things to throw them off the scent because he's like, oh yeah, I use machine translation. I don't know. Stop the cat, bro.
Yeah,
English.
right.
Because English, he uses words that would not come out in an English track. I put those in there. He uses certain words that is definitely someone that is a speaker of English. It's not someone that doesn't know English very well.
There was one word in that last sentence that did sound like it. Like they said, I don't know who uses unclearness
Yeah, that's what I'm, like some of the stuff that like when he tries to clarify, it doesn't sound like it's broken. It doesn't sound like a machine translate. And I use that from time to time, like whenever I'm trying to translate from like English to Spanish, because like where I live, there's a lot of people that speak Spanish, so I'm not as great in Spanish, and like it always comes out wonky. And even like when I was doing it for Japanese class, back in the day, it always comes out wonky. And when it comes to like these, or when I use like Google Translate like on Twitter for like Japanese posts for some of the developers, it always comes out weird. So this post didn't come out so weird, like weird enough, at least for me, to not believe that he's just trying to throw people off the scent and saying, "Oh, I'm just using machine translate and I don't really know." Like, nah, man, you're that's BS, dude.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's indisputable that this person got information about Pokemon before the event happened. Not disputing that at all. I just the rest of the story is a little off to me. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this person is legit.
They mentioned a patch though, a patch for a new system for Pokemon, which I mean, this is going to be the new Pokemon, I assume, for like the first half of next year at least. I mean, we could see something else announced in the Legend series or a spin-off, but this with the DLC, would we need a patch though in order to get more of these games or get more out of these games necessarily for next gen? Because I know the backwards compatibility talk has been a big point of contention across like the internet right now. Is that what we need to do? Do you got to go back and patch these different games?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Like we know that if you overclock the Switch, John, that Pokemon runs pretty well, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, just go from the information that we absolutely are aware of, right? So it's possible. It's possible. I think that's the thing that we're all trying to understand and figure out is what the plan is for Nintendo. Part of me feels like, why would they announce a new system a few months after Tears of the Kingdom?
Right.
That in itself just seems a little off to me as well, right? Like, why wouldn't you announce it with the system? You know what I mean? So, but I don't know. Like I do think that we will get some announcement later in this year. I just don't know.
I'm wondering how much of a run up they would need for the new system. Like, are they looking for a 4 or 5 month run up from announcement to release?
That's what I would guess. I mean, that's what the Switch was. Switch was announced in October and then released in March. So there doesn't really, to be honest, I don't really think you need the 1 year plus run up. I just think that just wastes too much time. We've seen it before with like Wii U. That was detrimental to the launch of the system.
Yep.
So I think 3DS even a little bit as well. I just don't think that you need a whole year or so.
Well, the issue, I assume the issue they'd run into, OJ, is that they would have to start manufacturing these things well before like that, or at least before that 4 month window starts. So there's a chance they would have that leak out of the factory.
Yeah, it's going to leak. I mean, it's just going to. You can't avoid it. It didn't. I mean, we saw it with Xbox. We saw it with PlayStation. We see it with Nintendo 3DS. Even if you go all the way back, when they were calling it like, what were they calling it back then? I forgot. I just started covering, but I forgot exactly what they're calling, like the leaks, like the HDDS or whatever leaks and stuff like that. Yeah. So it always happens every time. Even the Wii Project Cafe, that was the whole code name for that, and that leaked out what it was, like the tablet stuff. I know it was early internet, Twitter wasn't around back then, but even Wii U leaked out well beforehand. So it's just gonna happen. I don't think you can avoid it. Hell, Switch Lite leaked.
Yeah, that was a picture of it. People didn't believe it was real, and then it's like, wait, that's real. That's a thing. Oh wow, it's a Switch that can't switch. Interesting.
You're just gonna have to deal with it. The leaks.
I don't know. That's gonna be an interesting thing to see how they handle the run up for that, and especially the transition from this current system to the next.
What do you guys think this is? Like, there's all this talk now about next generation Switch. Some people are saying Switch Pro. I'm trolling Switch Pro because
I love your trolls, by the way.
Like, what do you guys think? What do you guys think this is going to be? Because like, I feel like it could be one or the other. Honestly, like I don't really know.
I think we still get a different model for the current generation, kind of like when they did that 2DS XL after the Switch had come out. They just announced it. I remember one night they just announced it, and everyone was like, "Why?" But they sold them. I mean, they still had a few games ready to go for it. They could do something like, here's a Switch Lite OLED. That's all. Here you go. We don't have to deal with LCDs anymore. The red box switch is gone. Now we just do OLED panels of Samsung.
Not a new system. That's not. You don't have to lead it 4 months lead up for that.
No, but like that's just that, like the little weird thing they do. Here's this other system that we have. Here you go. Yeah. But then they get into talks about the next system. And I'm just trying to figure out what concept they're going to go with. Like, what makes this different from the last one? Because you go from DS Lite to 3DS. Okay, it's got a 3D screen. All right, I get that. I don't know.
Here's my take. My take is that Nintendo has turned into a boring Japanese company at this point with Furukawa. And honestly, they just simply, it's called Switch OLED. It's literally called the thing that it actually is.
Yeah, I know. It does kind of seem like that, right? They're kind of gotten...
So I'm thinking, and I'm saying that a little bit tongue in cheek, but like, I'm thinking that it's going to be kind of like what Jeff Grubb speculated. Okay, he speculated. He didn't say that it was, so don't go rush Jeff Grubb's channel or whatever, but he speculated that it will be a bit more than what a Game Boy Color is. And if you look at what RGT says, RGT goes ballistic when you talk to him about Game Boy Color versus Game Boy, because Nintendo counts it as the same system. And as MVG knows, and as everybody here knows, Game Boy Color was not. It was like, it had a hella exclusive games. It was more powerful. It was definitely a different system, but Nintendo counted it as that. So I'm guessing they go somewhere in that realm. That's my guess. They be just kind of boring a little bit. And hey, look, we still make millions of dollars off the Switch. We've got subscribers. We can't dump that. Like, there's still hella people buying Switch games, and they don't want to lose that. And I think that's why they're fine with releasing Breath of the Wild, releasing
Tears of the Kingdom.
They had releasing Tears of the Kingdom. They had a sale on Breath of the Wild, but releasing Tears of the Kingdom, and they're like, people will just buy it on the new system. We're good. Like, they'll just sell on the new system too. So we're cool on that. We saw what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did. We just released it again and it was great. So we can just do that or whatever, So I think that they're really just going to do that and just say, hey, look, it's better. And then they easily have the best selling system of all time.
I am curious, what if they set up and did some different weird model, not necessarily a Switch Lite OLED, but what if they did do like a Switch Plus and it's just the same chip overclocked and they have different cooling or something in there, or they do a Switch table, like TV top box, where it's just that's it. It's just a little box and they've overclocked that chip to get better performance out of it. And they just call that like the Switch Home or something.
How much would they charge for something like that?
That's a good question. I mean, you pair a Pro Controller with it or something and call it a day.
I mean, I guess, yeah. If it's stronger, anything stronger, people will buy.
Yeah.
Anything stronger, people will buy. People were buying OLED,
Yeah, I mean, look at the OLED, how that people have latched onto that. I mean, that's selling really, really well. I mean, obviously that's the system right now, but you don't have to buy an OLED, right? You don't have to buy a Switch OLED.
Yeah, you can buy the new Mario system instead.
Yep,
it's the old
version.
You don't think they'll try to pull what they did with the DS, where they tried to explain it as a third pillar in their business, and they're like, this isn't the successor to the Game Boy Advance. Then like a year later, like, this is a successor to the Game Boy Advance.
I'm with OJ. The decades of taking risks are out right now. I think you're right. I think Furukawa is very, very safe. There is a plan, and they're just going to stick to it. They're going to just.
He's insanely safe. Like, when was the last time you guys saw this guy? He doesn't even like to be seen. Like, he's even
just
less
living
than the
in a bunker
guy.
right now, giving orders.
Yeah, like, I think that's what he just shuts in, and he's just like, no, this is business. This is this. We're gonna do this. He seems incredibly calculated, like more than anybody. And he's also not. He's really young for his position. So he seems just like, this is what we're gonna do. This is what sells. This is what doesn't sell. This is selling. We got to have this. And like, he just doesn't seem like he wants to mess around with anything outside of what's going to be the most efficient or best. Like, he doesn't show up in Nintendo Directs. He doesn't do any goof. He wasn't even at the Nintendo World.
Yeah, what was that? Why didn't he go to that?
He wasn't even there.
That's interesting.
I mean, Miyamoto was there, and Doug Bowser was there, I think, and who else was there? There might have been a couple other. There's a couple.
It is kind of Miyamoto's thing, like
I think
these theme parks.
The other executives that they have, that introduced Nintendo Switch, I think they were there too. Koizumi.
Yeah.
Takahashi was there too?
They were there.
Dude wasn't even there. I mean, that just seems to me like he's just like, you guys do this. We got to do this to make more money, and that's what's gonna happen. I don't know. They could pull something crazy, but I don't know.
I mean, he could also kind of step away and be like, you guys know what you're doing with these systems. You get creative with it.
You guys figure it out.
I'll cover the money stuff and all that. I'll make sure the money flows back and forth correctly. You guys figured out the Switch, right, along with the original vision, but brought it to market. Now, I'll do all the business stuff.
There's definitely something to be said about going out on top, right? Like, leaving, the most successful system, behind as your legacy. That's a pretty big deal. But I think Furukawa is going to stick around for a bit. I think, this is a longer term strategic thing that I think he's going to stick around for, at least for the next generation and possibly beyond that. But I think he's obviously doing all the right things over there. So, maybe he does nothing.
MVG, maybe he does nothing. We haven't heard of him. How do we know that he does anything?
I mean, that's a good point.
Turns out he was ChatGPT the whole time.
But another way to look at it is if he's doing nothing and they're selling 122 million units and counting, and why change it?
Koizumi's doing all the work,
right?
So, okay, well, real quick, when do we think? Well, now with what we're seeing here, some of the talks, when do we think the next system, we'll just say for fun, when do you think it'll release?
Release?
Yeah, I need a month and a year.
Month down to the month.
I need the month.
Yeah, the month.
Are they gonna come for me if I commit to a year and a date?
I don't even think Nintendo really knows what's
I like when you get trolled. It's funny. So please say something.
Come on, just buzz off a string of numbers that means nothing.
2024, but I don't really know what month. I mean, when did like the light come? It was like September, wasn't it? And the OLED.
Because it launched next to the Zelda game.
Link's Awakening. Yeah, so I think it was September 2019.
I'm gonna say September 2024.
Oh, okay, so a little bit out.
A little bit out. Yeah.
I want to hear John's.
And what do we think the RRP on that's going to be? 400 higher?
I think they're going 400 on it because this is how we are with pricing around everything now. They're probably like, well, it's kind of the way it is.
Yeah, 400.
Yeah,
400.
I'm gonna. I don't know. I think they're gonna be boring. Yeah, I think they're gonna be boring in spring.
Okay, spring. You said spring, OJ?
Yeah, sometime in spring.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking March. I'm between April and March. Yeah, for 2024.
Launch this year, launch it next year.
I'd like to hope I have a dev kit.
Right
before then, because
you're not getting a dev kit. You're not getting a dev
launch without it.
It's not that much time.
Nintendo hates you. You're not getting a dev kit.
I'm gonna play it safe. I'll just go with March. They're gonna reenact the Switch launch all over again.
Wait, I mean, already have a dev kit, MVG? Wait, is that where's your dev kit? Stop lying. He's trying to throw him off. He's got a dev kit.
I don't have a dev kit, and even if I did, the answer is I don't have a dev kit.
I'm gonna write down my MVG potentially has a Switch. I write down my video ideas here, and that's gonna be one of them. MVG might have a dev kit. MVG.
Just link him to my Twitter.
I'm gonna make a video. I'm gonna link them to your channel.
So I would look. Go ahead, MG.
No, I was gonna say. I think March is. I mean, that's a pretty good, bet to make as well, given the success they had, previously. So yeah, I mean, it's possible. But I wonder if it is March next year. What are they going to have ready to go for launch? Because that's the other thing, right? They have to have, and they know this, right? That they have to have a pretty solid launch lineup of games.
I think they have. They got cross-gen. They got a Mario Kart game.
Yeah. And maybe that's all it takes. Maybe it's Mario Kart and Metroid Prime 4, and maybe a couple of, I'll just say, Switch games that had been patched and brought forward with new features. That could be enough. plus NSO. Yeah.
And then you announce games that are set up for 2024, and then you just start announcing stuff even if it's like 2 years out or something, just to be like, here's the new 3D Mario game that's coming out next year or something. Just start lining up that first 18 to 24 months of releases for that new system. Yeah. I will say you want to look towards first week of May. That should be when they have an actual investors meeting for the entire fiscal year. And I feel like they're actually going to get grilled pretty heavily about this.
Yeah, but they're just going to give their responses they always give.
Yeah, but didn't they, at an investors meeting, didn't they announce that they were working on the NX or something?
That was okay. So that was a very interesting situation, because that was when they went into the partnership with DNA and smartphone, and they were doing really bad with the Wii U.
Right.
So they announced it so people wouldn't think that they were going to move straight just to mobile gaming, like no next home console or anything like that. So they did that to alleviate the fears of that.
Well, the other reason I would say they'll probably get grilled is because we'll have Tears of the Kingdom coming up, but I assume they're going to all be looking forward as like, okay, what's the holiday game? What's happening after this game comes out? All those things, like how are you going to take advantage of the busiest time of the year exactly? They're going to hit with a lot of those kind of questions.
And the investors are also going to be like, hey, look, sales are like down 20-30%. This year compared, like, what's next? Like, I know you guys got Tears of the Kingdom coming up, and that's going to help, but Pikmin's coming, got it, but like, what else? So they're definitely going to have to. They're gonna have to say something,
Yeah, that's why I said they'll get grilled, and I assume they'll say something about the future in some way. Even if they hint towards it a little bit, that'd be enough to at least have 20 some odd YouTube videos pop up the next day. So we'll see. That's I assume the next thing I'd look towards, unless Nintendo decided to randomly just, I don't know, announce it for some reason. I would say that's probably the next stop for any substantial news from Nintendo with the future in mind. But who knows? Posts pop up on 4chan all the time. So there you go. Evan, we have a Discord question over there.
If you could alter history and cause one canceled console to come out, which one would it be?
The Amico.
Canceled?
Because I've got I've got physical products.
Oh
here.
no, you bought the game.
Oh, you got a game?
No,
What's inside there?
This was given to me as a gift.
Okay.
It's CLA opening this up. No way.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be worth something one day.
Is there actually a game inside there? Is there like a physical cartridge?
No, it's an RFID. You tap it on the console, and apparently it takes you to a website where you can digitally download the game or something.
Sounds easy for the parents to figure out.
Well, I just need the console to play those games. That's what I
Even
want.
though the console came out, the Neo Geo, the one that came out, I think through GameStop specifically, that got canceled after the first 2 game packs came out because they found out you could just put whatever on it.
The handheld Neo Geo thing?
Well, no, it was handheld and you could plug it in to what looked like a Neo Geo to you. Yeah, I wish that kept going. I wish that kept going past the 2. Like, that would have been cool.
I like to assume there was a Dreamcast 2 in development somewhere and they just had to cancel it.
Probably. Yes, that would be the thing. I don't know if that was ever. There was some rumors that popped up about a Dreamcast 2, but I don't think it was ever real. But yeah, if that thing was ever, or even like that, remember that Phantom system? Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember.
The Phantom system, which was supposed to be like PC console gaming,
I think someone has one that's done a video on it or something.
Yes.
I gotta dig that up somewhere because that's interesting to me.
Yeah, that was the early 2000s. I remember it was like at E3 and everything. Like it was like a silver, cool looking for the time, cool looking box. And I was like, oh, so I remember, what was I doing back then? I remember I was working like fast food or something. I remember seeing it. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. We had internet there.
Joel in the chat was saying, I'd take a PS Vita 2. I would take a PS Vita 2.
Yeah, why not?
One of those.
Let me take a look at some of the super chats here. Geeky Gaming Family says, have any of y'all watched the Psychonauts 2 development documentary series from Double Fine? It is really interesting and was recorded over 7 years. Yeah, it's like a ridiculous amount of episodes and time to watch that. I did check the first episode just to see the quality, and it's pretty good. So it's like an entire season to watch. It's 30 some odd episodes. It's a lot.
I've watched the whole thing. I'm not gonna. It took me about 2 weeks of basically. I just watched a couple of episodes a night and got through it. It's a lot. Yeah, you're right, John. It's a really, really good insight on how game development is done, and just the ups and downs. Like after 7 years, and that was during pandemic as well. And this was before they were acquired by Microsoft, and when they were indie studio and they were looking for money, and they, there were times where they basically had nothing. They had no money and they needed money and stuff like that. So it's a really, really good documentary.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah.
It is. Yep.
It shows the rough side of game development, I guess, not all the glory and stuff when the game comes out and people are all excited about it.
I think at this point we all know that game development's like ass, like a lot of the time. I think it's. I mean, it can be fun. I know MG. I know it can be fun, but like, there's so many negatives, man. Like, I think we can all see that at this point. Now with Twitter and with
it's just hard. I think people. I don't think people realize how hard it is to play the game.
Well,
really
even from a budgeting standpoint, it seems like most people who've even been in the game for a while don't know how much money's going to be needed going into things. That was the whole thing with Mighty Number 9 was they thought they had enough and then they just didn't have enough.
Well, budgeting and estimating is probably the hardest thing, and it's not just in the game industry; it's in any industry. Like trying to estimate time and money and resources is one of the most difficult things you can do. And if you get it wrong, you've already put your project in jeopardy.
Yeah. You can be in big trouble. Hell, I did it. I used to do for car like rental cars. Dude, you would think that we're gonna have this much. It's like nope. Somebody keeps a car too long, or something else happens. It completely can throw everything into disarray, or you don't get a couple cars back, or you don't have the money to buy certain ones, man. It's just nuts. So I can only imagine like video game development is probably even like 10 times worse than that, or like a lot worse than even budgeting for like cars,
Yeah. Plus you got a publisher involved as well. So, you're working on your game, and you think everything's cool. Then you show it to the publisher, and basically it's on them to take a look at it and hopefully approve what you've done. And we've seen stories where that hasn't happened, like with Aspire. Remember when they showed off what they were working on, and they basically had to start over and scrap whatever they were doing. And what was the game? The Star Wars game they were doing, the Knights of the Old Republic remake or something like that. That didn't show very well.
No,
they just took it away from them.
Yeah, I think they were shocked at how expensive that slice was.
What was that one game I watched? It Alpha Protocol. You guys remember that game?
Oh yeah.
They showed it to Sega, and Sega was like, "No, we don't like this. What the hell? We wanted like Metal Gear or something like that. Like you guys showed us like a linear experience. No, make something else."
The God of War documentary, Raising Kratos, where they show it to Yoshida, and he's just like, "What the fuck is this? This is garbage."
Man.
Making games is hard. Like shipping a game is, and OJ, I think you know the question you asked about why. I think when your game comes out, everything just is good, and I think everyone's looking for that adrenaline rush when your game finally ships, and then it's misery for the next couple of years until the next game comes out.
Yeah, it's cool. Like once it's done, I almost kind of treat it like I don't know, like playing football or something. Like sometimes it sucks, like all the training that you got to do, but then once the game day comes around, or like soccer, John, like when you play, it's like you got to run, you got to do all this. It sucks, but once game time comes around, that's like the vindication. Like, okay, hey, here's the fun part,
Yeah. Rasper says YouTuber High Tech Low Life recently lamented PC not getting collector's edition. Could Diablo 4's model let people buy the version they want and shift more money to devs from platform holders? Let buy the version they want and shift more money to devs from platform holders. Well, first off, the publisher would take the money. The collector's editions. PC has been weird because obviously it's basically all digital now. I was shocked when I saw physical copies of a game at Best Buy, like Ghostwire Tokyo. So, I mean, Evan, have you ever really been interested in a collector's edition on PC before that's physical?
Occasionally when I've bought ones that I've actually looked for. It's always specific items from already existing special editions. I just get them off of eBay or Amazon for way cheaper than the full box set. But I mean, we've already seen kind of with consoles, like the Horizon special edition didn't even have the game with it. Like it was just like the stuff. So like special editions might just be moving to that point of like you can buy the game and then for this much extra, you can get all this cool extra.
Did it for Mass Effect as well?
Yeah. So like
Octopath Traveler 2 Special Edition, it does not have the game in there.
Yeah, so I feel like at some point the companies are just going to release like the if you're a super fan box, and then that's you just buy wherever you want.
EJ says you're a sucker if you click on these types of videos. This is the fourth one Spawnwave has made about the Switch 2 in the last week, and it's annoying. Hey, I got a video tomorrow coming out for the PS Vita TV. Okay.
Ooh.
So it seems like a good video to click. That's not.
Well, is there info for the Switch 2 in there?
I might have to put it in there. I don't know.
Just at the end. Just at the end. Just say it out loud.
Seems like a good one right there to check out. So we'll see how that does. Also, I gotta pump up the next gen Switch numbers. They made a good point. Not at 10%.
We got a call for a boycott.
Gotta pump the numbers.
We want to pump the numbers up.
Ghost says, question for OJ, do you think the Switch 2 rumors will help push the hardware up in sales when the console drops? Personally, I'd take the PS5 over. Do you think the Switch 2 rumors will help push the hardware up in the sales when the console drops?
I
don't know about rumors, but the boycott that's going to come will be
the boycott. The boycott. I mean, a system sells based off of what content that you have, so that's how good a system sells, not rumors and not all that. So when the system launches, does it have something compelling? Well, if it does, then it's going to do really well, usually. The big fans always buy the system usually right there. But in terms of how sales go on, like if you have Zelda or if you have Mario Kart, then it's going to sell incredibly well. It's probably going to do better than most of the systems that are currently out since its launch. So that's just kind of how it always works.
Look, whenever Nintendo announced it, there's going to be a stupid amount of hype online. Let's be real. People are really excited for it.
But like how the system does in the long run is based on like the content that's released, right? So if you have really good compelling content released, then it's going to do really good over a long period of time. Like that's what the difference between Switch and Wii U was. Like Wii U did not have enough of it. A lot of it was going to 3DS in terms of like games like Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing and Pokemon. Wii U wasn't getting those games. It was going to 3DS, so 3DS was getting those sales.
All the money.
Yeah. Switch this time. Switch got those games. They announced the Fire Emblem game for it before the system even came out. There was a mainline Fire Emblem announced, and there was Mario Kart, and there was going to be Animal Crossing came, and Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion did not come to Wii U. It came to 3DS. And that game sold 10 million copies plus on the Switch.
And look at it this way. There's not going to be, I don't think there's going to be any questions from third parties when that next system comes out. So you feel like Bandai Namco, who was on their back foot all gen, are gonna be like, we're there day one. All these
no questions from Japanese third parties.
Hey, Microsoft be there with Call of Duty apparently right away. So
they have to with a gun to the back of their head. Force
10 years. This is from Paleo. Says the new dinosaur Suicune. Hey, help me out here, Jordan.
The new Suicune Pokemon.
Thank you.
Paradox one.
Walking Wake is a new favorite Pokemon for me. What are your favorite Paradox Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet? I'm gonna leave this to Jordan.
I like the Scarlet version of Dawn Fan. Forget the name of what it was called, but that one probably one of my favorite designs. But I do like the new Suicune a lot as well. I think it is pretty cool.
22 says, love the Spawncast show and crew. I sold off my $14,000 Dreamcast collection today. And no, it wasn't because of RG85. I've been planning this for almost 2 months. Keep up the great content.
$14K?
Wow. That must have been a sweet collection.
Yes.
Sega needs to drop that Dreamcast Mini to make up for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, man. I'm all about people taking that physical and turning it into cash. So, hey, congrats on that one, man. 14K. That's a nice chunk of change.
Dreamcast Mini. I'm there day one Dreamcast Mini. Come on, Sega. Make it happen. Jack says, John, would you be interested in doing a video on the PS Vita USB-C mod by Axel? They're bought to sell out, and I'd love to see you attempt it. Yeah, I would try that. Yeah. I think that's one of the big things that the Vita needs is to go to USB-C. So I would absolutely try that. Xbox lost PlayStation 1. Says Xbox's only hope is to remake Halo Infinite in the Carbon engine. PSM met a wonderful African American today who adores Dragon Ball Z. I think that's gonna be for Sean.
Not wrong.
Louis says, is it safe to say we should give up on Scarlet and Violet ever looking or performing any better? Maybe on the new Switch next year. Maybe that's been the patch all along, is the new hardware.
Maybe.
The patch was the friends we made.
Hey,
along
if
the
they
way.
have that patch for the next system, then I would assume it'll be 30 frames per second at least. I don't know. The thing is, MVG is correct.
Patch. They said
yeah.
It did say graphics, so it'll make it look better.
Yeah, it should look better. Yeah. And the thing that MVG is correct is when you overclock the Switch, it seems to smooth out is the frame rate issues. So I don't know. Maybe they'll overclock the Switch. It's hard to say because Game Freak has to start working on the next Pokemon game now. So they're like always behind the 8 ball.
Legends, they got to start working on that Legends game.
And that one. Oh man. And they gotta organize and get together remakes and probably Mystery Dungeon with the other studios, and we'll see. Kin says, hey Spawn Wave, may you please ask Player Essence if he can do the Thug Shaker.
I don't know what the hell he's talking
about. What is that?
I don't know.
I'm
I
not
don't know
on
what
Google
shaker
either.
is. I've never said I've done anything like that. I think he's just trying to be like low-key racist, but it's all good.
Maybe.
Okay.
It's fine. It's okay. It's okay to grow up without your father. It's fine.
Enigmatic says, OJ, I've never played any Fire Emblem and was able to get Path of Radiance. Should I wait to play the GBA games first? Also, opinions on Parasite Eve.
Wait,
Parasite Eve rules.
Parasite
I've
Eve is
never
really
played
good.
any. Was never able to play any Fire Emblem and was able to get Path of Radiance. Should I wait to play the GBA games before Path of Radiance?
No, you don't have to wait to play the GBA games because there's 2 of them, and those ones are connected, but they don't have any connection like that to Path of Radiance. Path of Radiance is a new characters, new area, new stuff, new everything. A lot of the Fire Emblem games aren't connected like story-wise. They're just and they even take place in different worlds. Some of them are connected on the same continent, like in a different like area, but a lot of them are literally a whole separate ass world. So you don't have to worry about story connections and all that with that. Like you can go into it like with only just a few of them. Like let's say like Fire Emblem 4 or whatever, like the first Fire Emblem and then like the third Fire Emblem, right? Like those are like Marth.
Mm-hmm.
Marth is in there. Or like Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. Okay, Ike and then Micaiah, they're like the same character. So like yeah, that one you have to. There's certain ones, but not with Path of Radiance. You can. It's Ike's first game. It's the first game on GameCube. You can just play that and be just fine.
Christopher asks, when is your panel at Too Many Games? I'm actually not sure yet, Christopher. I think they're still lining up any kind of panels or stuff. So I'll talk about it whenever we figure any of that out. Scott says, thoughts on Xbox Series Remote Play? I've used it twice, and I have not used it recently, but when I did, it worked well enough through the local network. Callan Shaw says, now that we've seen this naming pattern, what do you think the odds are they call next gen Switch plus? One thing, plus isn't plus enough. Oh, they got to play it. Hey, this is where they play it safe. Name it something basic. You don't have to get crazy with it. You don't need 2 pluses on it.
That's the Pokemon company. That wasn't. Otherwise, they would have just called it Switch Plus. The OLED.
Plus. That is amazing.
Switch OLED Plus.
Switch OLED Plus. The Super Switch.
Super Switch OLED Plus.
G-Man Sir says, bring back Fat John. He's probably staying away for a while. So
don't bring back Fat John.
Bring a Fat John.
Do not bring back Fat John. I have to go through thumbnails for my videos.
So sometimes, occasionally, I don't know why, YouTube will recommend like a Spawn Wave video from like 2018 or something, and I'm like, damn, man.
Don't bring back Fat. Yeah, don't bring back Fat John.
Let's talk about Square Enix. They had a lot of stuff happening this week. They had the Final Fantasy 16 stuff. They had Luminous Productions, Forspoken, shake up at the top for the leadership. Oh, it's all over the place. I guess we can start with something that's more positive to a degree. Final Fantasy 16 with the previews that went out. People got to play it. They flew in and got to hang out with the people who made the game. Interviews went up all over the place with some surprising information, I think. But first off, Final Fantasy 16. How are we feeling about this game? Because we're at 3.5 months out from it now. Getting close.
Graphically, it looks great. Like graphics wise, a little dark in some areas. I don't know if that was just whatever they were using, but overall, it looks really cool. The combat looks flashy. It looks looks dope. Looks like it's going to be a really cool, serious, hardcore RPG. So that was like my first impression, of it, was that it looks really cool. I don't want to watch too much though, because I don't want to be spoiled. Because like there's like a lot of footage, so I didn't watch everything, but I watched enough to kind of get like the gist of like what they were aiming for. Obviously, the Devil May Cry influences, you can see it instantly, like in terms of the game. So yeah, I thought it looked cool. I thought it looked good. Graphically, like I said, it looks dope. So I'm looking forward to seeing everything else, like with the mechanics and stuff like that. Like you got a dog, and a dog rolls with you the whole time.
Visually speaking, it is very impressive looking, because they have that shot where it goes from a cinematic right into gameplay, and you can barely see where it cuts at all. Like it looks really good, even over stream quality. So I assume when you get that in front of you natively, playing on the PS5 on like the big OLED, it will actually look like a next gen game. So we're there, I think, with this one in particular from Square Enix and the Final Fantasy 14 team. I think the thing that's really gotten people a bit here is the combat, because it is very much real time and very much like Devil May Cry is what's kind of been brought up.
Yeah, it's very much Devil May Cry, which is, like I said, I think the problem, I guess, for some people, because that was like the big controversy. I know Dreamcast guy made a video on it. He's not here to talk about it, but I don't think that there's a problem with them trying to do something different with the combat. I just think that, traditional fans are like, okay, well, this isn't even Final Fantasy anymore, Like, this is not even this is not Final Fantasy. This is just something completely different. And they've done almost nothing outside of like little smaller things like Bravely Default or Octopath or you can talk about Dragon Quest, but that's a different franchise. But to do in terms of like that traditional, Final Fantasy gameplay experience. So I think that fans are a little upset with that. I think that if they would have made something else, in Final Fantasy that was more traditional and stuff, and then they also had this, I think it would have been just fine. But the fact that it's just, this is what we've got, and this is what we've been getting. They even took Final Fantasy VII and turned that into action RPG, although it's more, but they're taking everything and they're not going back to any of the roots when it comes down to it. Like, so they even took that and turned it into something else, like more action. So I think that's just the issue. People are a little upset that there isn't any super high quality Final Fantasy that plays a little bit more into the traditional, like old school Final Fantasies made modern. But in terms of just the game itself, it looks like it's going to be great. Like, it looks like it's going to be really cool. And I like what you said about the like the first like truly like next generation, I guess if you're going to call it that, graphically and all that. It looks great in that sense. Couple things I don't like with the not having set party members, how they're revolving. I'm not a fan of revolving party members. I like to have like my party members set. I didn't like that in FF7 remake, like where guys would just be disappearing for half the game and stuff. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but at least you get to keep the dog. So it kind of reminds me of like Secret of Evermore, like where you're like,
dude, I love that game. That game is so good.
Yeah, it was really good back in the day. I remember playing. Me and my brother used to play it all the time.
Beat that on the NSO.
Yeah, your dog would evolve as you go to different places. Your dog would change, and it was really cool. So it kind of reminds me of that. So I like that. You got a leveling up doggo that stays with you the whole time. So, and the voice acting is incredible. Like, oh my goodness, like the voice acting with that one lady, like the blonde chick, like that was super good. So like everything's really, really high quality with the game.
So they have other characters that will kind of evolve over time, but yeah, they are focusing primarily on Clive as like the main character that they're going to follow. They have the big icons, which look pretty cool, because they have those battles where it looked ridiculous. Like it was like the big kaiju fights almost going on, and they had all this camera angles snapping all over the place and looked super over the top. So when you summon down Ifrit and all of this, and they just start clashing, I think there's going to be some really cool set pieces in there, and the fact that they get to push it to a mature rating with a very talented team behind it. I wouldn't be surprised if this lines up as being I can't really say, I don't know, maybe the revival of Final Fantasy a bit, because they kind of admit, hey, Final Fantasy's struggling.
It's a bit of a revival. It's a little bit, I mean, I don't, sales wise, I don't know, because, the last one, Final Fantasy 15, sold incredibly well. And it was on multiple platforms. But this one, I think in terms of just like Metacritic wise or just like reviews wise, yeah, I think it's going to be the best reviewed Final Fantasy game, major Final Fantasy game that we've gotten since probably not. I'm not counting Final Fantasy 14. I'm not counting that. Probably since like Final Fantasy 12.
You know, I started playing because I going into this game, I realized that a lot of the team was like behind Final Fantasy 14, obviously with Yoshi P at the top of it. When I started playing Final Fantasy 14, that is the most Final Fantasy game I think I've ever played. The story, the characters, the world around it as they're explaining it to you, I'm like, this, I don't know. It just seems like people who have missed Final Fantasy for the last 2 decades just need to go play Final Fantasy 14 if they haven't yet. I know it's like an MMO, but
MMO, yeah, that's the problem.
Dude, I'm looking at this thing. This is like, I understand why now as I've gone through it. Dude, one night I started playing it, right? And I'm like, all right, let me check this out. I look down and it's like I had missing time. It was like 5 hours later. So what happened? It was that MMO thing, Evan, where at one point we got really into, this is a long time ago, one MMO where we flew around in ships. I swear one night we played that for like 6 hours straight and I didn't realize it. So I had to kind of stop for a minute. I'm like, all right, what happened with this game? But it does have that mindset of reminding you that it's Final Fantasy in a world that is highly addictive with
that's what it was.
Yeah, but this dude, I don't know. It's high quality. The story you can play by yourself completely all the way through, and things are actually happening that seem substantial even early on. I didn't get any expansion yet, so I'm like, this. I get it. I understand why this is the team behind Final Fantasy 16 and why they just backed the truck up for them to make it. So it's, hey, if people miss it, and it's basically kind of turn-based, right? It's like that MMO style. Hey, you like Xenoblade? There you go. You're right in there. Final Fantasy 14 has that MMO combat. I actually think you would like it, OJ, to be honest. I know it's like the always online thing, but
yeah, I'm just not an MMO guy. Like, I think I'd probably like it, yeah, because it looks dope. I'm just not a fan of MMOs. I don't know.
When people talk about it, it just sounds like a single player game that you play when you walk into town. And you'll see other people, and you're like, oh yeah, this is an MMO, and then you just walk back out of the town.
They say you can do it with, like, you know, you can play through it multiplayer and all that, but I mean, I was just playing single player. I didn't really match up with anyone else. I was just going through it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is good. So it sounds like there's a lot there. I'm probably never going to get to it all, but I understand. I understand the Final Fantasy 14 love now after seeing it. So them going to this, I feel like they're just bringing a lot of what they learned over the past several years. And apparently, this is odd, it's not using Unreal Engine. I don't know if that surprised you, MHE, because they had talked about playing around with Unreal Engine, but people are theorizing now it's using like a new Crystalworks engine, which is what they used for Final Fantasy 14. That's the theory.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just assumed they're using Unreal Engine for it. So it'll be interesting to see how that performs when it comes out.
Yeah, they said there's gonna be a 60 FPS mode in this, and I'm sure like Digital Foundry and all of them will really look into it. But it's that surprised everyone that it's not on Unreal Engine, which will play into, I think, some of the talk about Luminous Productions here in a little bit.
So what? They didn't say what engine it's on, right? They didn't.
No, they wouldn't. I don't think maybe they don't have a name for it, or they haven't officially named it publicly. Yeah. Because there might still be talks about what they're going to do with it in the background, but I think it does play into what happened to Luminous Productions, which we'll get into here in a minute.
We ain't giving Unreal nothing. This game's going to sell like crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But they also might have been familiar with Crystalworks because they've used it for so long. They're like, we can build on this and modernize it and make it more like for a single player game and do all this. And Square was probably like, well, it's either this, Unreal, or the Luminous engine, and you go ahead and do that. we trust you guys with all this stuff. So that's 16's looking good. I'm really excited for it. I know there's the big back and forth about it has to be turn-based and straight up, and I assume people are talking about it has to be like, I guess, Final Fantasy X. Well, that's the last time we really had a straight up, you control all the party members, turn-based.
Even like FF3, like a evolving active time battle, you know, even something like that would have been.
But you just control the one character in 13.
Yeah, but I think in 13 too, you can switch the control. If I'm not correct, I don't remember. But like, I think that like even like ATB, because ATB has been done multiple times in Final Fantasy games. So like, if there was something that's high quality and like, you know, ATB based, like let's just say it was just an off game. Let's just say it was a high end Switch game or something, and they also ported to other systems. They've done like World of Final Fantasy. They do Bravely Default. They do something like that. But the name Final Fantasy and high end, not like Chibi, not like HD 2D, not like weird ripoff of Pokemon,
right?
But like something like that. If there was something like that that came out like 2 years ago or something, I honestly think this would have never even came out. It was just the fact that there isn't anything like that. Like people see Pokemon Company, you know, like Pokemon Legends, right? And regular Pokemon. People see Monster Hunter Rise, and they also see Monster Hunter Stories 2. Like it's a turn-based, high-quality turn-based RPG, you know, like in the Monster Hunter universe. Like, and they sold over 1 million units, and nobody plays Monster Hunter for a turn-based RPG. So the fact that Square Enix hasn't split that at this point, right, to satisfy those fans is, I think, where some of those, I mean, heck, I've talked about it multiple times, but where other people have also agreed. I've had super Final Fantasy people say, yeah, that would have been a good idea, you know, like to just have kind of both. But I think Square Enix approach as well. We have Bravely Default, we have Final Fantasy 14, we have Octopath. Play those, you know. I think that's been their approach instead of making it. But I think it would have maybe been ideal to make a high end like ATB based Final Fantasy game that's not as quite as, you know, graphics and all that like this one, and as big of an investment, but still something on the level of like a Monster Hunter Stories 2. I think that would have been, yeah, I think nobody would have complained at all. I think that would have been great, you know.
I think
it wouldn't have been as bad. At least I don't think it would have been.
I think that's a great strategy for Square in general, because they just need to triple down on Final Fantasy and just keep doing a lot of Final Fantasy stuff. So yeah, why not do a separate one that maybe 16 is really successful, like how, you know, 7 has been for them, or even you can even say 15, because they did a lot of expansion content for that, and they just continue building in that world with spin-off games and do all these things and play around with the battle system. And
I mean, they kind of used to a little bit,
yeah.
Like they're just Cerberus and stuff like that, and you know, I mean, they had Crisis Core, and obviously that was good, and there's PSP at this point. So, and they have the new they have another Final Fantasy game coming, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they're trying, but there's no reason why Square Enix, and that's why there's a shakeup. There's no reason why Square Enix shouldn't be more successful than they are. They have these incredible IPs. They have all this stuff. Final Fantasy should not be something like, oh yeah, it sold 5 million. Don't get me wrong, 5 million is fantastic, you know, but Final Fantasy is so much like the name. It's so much better than that, you know. Like
I think
it's so much better.
I think they're looking for a 10 million minimum for 16.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it has to outsell 15, or there's a problem.
Which is going to be hard because it's only on PS5. And is there going to be bundles, you know, for it?
Oh, I think Sony will go all out marketing it, and that's the thing. When Square pairs up with a platform holder to help them market, they do much better than when it's just them. Because Octopath Traveler 2 in them was like, okay.
I don't think they even cared too much. I think they're just like they were playing with house money on that one, because the HD 2D games make way more like they release them almost every year, you know, and they all sell really well.
Speaking of leadership, OJ did mention that Matsuda is stepping down, and is apparently they're going to vote on this, but will be succeeded by the current company director Takashi Kiryu, and they are kind of new to Square Enix. In 2020 they came aboard there, so it was a little surprising, I think, to see that. But then you kind of look at Square Enix and go, well, they haven't had a good run of things recently. They sold off a lot of their Western division now. They're definitely, I would say, trying to become a more efficient, clean running.
Sometimes, I mean, you know, the general consensus is, you know, we kind of promote people that have been around for a long time to those positions. But in some instances, then there's probably a mindset of we need to bring someone outside in to, you know, just to really get us back on track. So I think maybe that's the plan here. Someone that's, I mean, he's still been with the company for a couple of years, but he's still relatively new compared to some of the OGs that are still there, right? So I think maybe that's the plan for them to, you know, bring someone in that's fairly, you know, green still, but knows business well enough to really try to get the train back on track, and make him successful again.
Maybe they'll go all in on the Final Fantasy stuff. People were mentioning that he appeared to come from a background that was really into NFTs, but to my understanding, looking at it, it was a PR company that appeared to do a lot of discussion around NFTs, which at that time they were on the rise. So, we gotta see.
I get the whole NFT stuff, guys, but that's not Square Enix's problem. Like, NFTs aren't the problem with Square Enix. Even if they do more, that's not the problem. Like, it's really not. So I get it, and I understand, like, automatic, like, you jump up with that. But, like, last year, let's look at Valkyrie Elysium. You bring that back. How was the quality of that game? I didn't have a damn thing to do with NFTs, okay? So it's like, Deal Field was good, but you didn't market the game at all. No. What about Neo? What about Neo 20? You guys didn't market the game at all. Like, there's good stuff, and then it's sprinkled in. Like, they release a ton of things, and there's issues across the board. So pointing the finger at NFTs and saying, oh, that doesn't help Valkyrie Elysium. Like, what about that game being better? It kind of
feels like maybe they were just, those felt like they just got pushed out the door. And I almost wonder if it's just because Mitsuda was like, hey, I'm out next year. Let's just get this stuff out. And then they can kind of start, not necessarily fresh, but start with like a kind of a clean slate in front of them for releasing games.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't make sense to bring back some of these classic franchises and they're like not good. Like I said, like Valkyrie, like I can't believe that game wasn't better. If you're not going to do like the traditional gameplay, that's fine. But then you release that in that state, So to me, that was just like a miss, right?
It was
like
just such a boring. It was just such a boring game. I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, it looked okay at times, but it was just very bland. So I mean, that doesn't I get it. That doesn't I get the NFT stuff, but that doesn't fix some of the things and some of the issues. Deal Field was good, but nobody knew about that.
I mean, Mitsuda's been talking about NFTs for it feels like forever now. So it's not like that's all of a sudden going to pop up. He's been like all about this stuff. So
there are games that they're releasing. Final Fantasy's not that NFTs have nothing to do with FF7 Remake not selling on 10 million copies on 100 something million install base. If you count the PS4 and the PS5 and PC, that needs to do better. This is just business wise, right? So that doesn't stop those games from doing better. So they need to get somebody in there that can make these games do better and perform up to what they know they can perform.
I mean, DFL was on everything. I was on the Xbox, the Switch. It even went to the Xbox One, and we need to see how like a lot of Japanese developers and publishers will tend to just go PlayStation, Switch, and that's kind of it. I mean, that went everywhere. They put it on as much as they could.
We haven't heard a peep about how the game performed or anything. Yeah. So they need to just, like I said, this is
Jeff brought up Babylon's Fall. That's another good one.
Yeah, Babylon's Fall. That wasn't it. Obviously, that was a huge issue.
How much money did they lose on the Avengers?
Yeah, Avengers, that nothing to do with NFTs, man. Like, so, like, I get it. I understand people saying that, but that's not the problem when you're releasing games and they're underperforming, not marketing. Like, nah, you got to fix that, Now, if NFTs start coming into the fray and start actually affecting the games that are coming out, then I see it. But right now, they got to fix the fundamental problems, that they have. That's it. It has nothing to do with NFTs,
Speaking of Square Enix and the Luminous Productions, they are folding into Square Enix.
Another problem.
May 1st, they are folding in, and that means that they lasted 5 years actually, because they formed after, like, as Final Fantasy 15 was being created, they kind of just formed together from all the different divisions. I think Division 2 was like the main one they came from. They just acquired all this talent that was mostly focusing on Luminous Engine, that they just we'll just make a external development studio company, and you guys do that and you do other media. And then they said, nope, you're just doing games now. I assume they were gonna try to use the Luminous engine for a movie or something, like they did with that Spirits Within media, where they kind of still look like a cutscene in a video game all the way through, right? But not the case. They are going to complete any of their prior obligations with Forspoken, which includes DLC for some reason. And that's kind of it. They're folding into Square Enix. They're going to basically disband and go where they're needed within the company, and I guess just mostly run support and help out with other HD game projects. And that's Square's biggest thing, is it will help us create better HD games in the future with that talent now being kind of spread out rather than focusing and working on Forspoken, which
that was a lot of money on Forspoken.
That was their project. As once they formed, apparently they were conceptualizing Forspoken, and that was it. They were, of course, doing Final Fantasy 15, but they finished that up. They did have that shakeup at the top where Tabata left, and then all the DLC got canceled, or most of it. And then they were all on board for Forspoken. So in a way, yes, Forspoken technically was probably the last call.
Just say it. It tanked the studio.
It did. Hey, we've talked about this before.
It tanked the studio.
Remember we talked about the Callisto Protocol, and Nate was like, if that was any other studio, that might have been it if they didn't have that publisher behind them. I mean, here's another example of these games being expensive. They don't hit. All right, that's that. We're disbanding, you guys.
How cheap can I get that game for? I actually want to pick it up and play it because I think it's interesting enough for me to want to check it out. But
I think Square is going to fire sale that thing by the end of the year.
I played it quite a bit, and the combat, the combat's good. The combat's actually fun. It's some of the dialogue, whatever. But the combat,
a lot of the world around it. Like there's a lot of weird instances of just invisible walls and stuff.
If it wasn't an open world game, I think it could have been better. If they just made it more of a linear, focused experience, that's a game that felt like they wanted it to be open world so they could try to show the engine off. Like that game was made to show the engine further and try to sell it outside of maybe gaming. I don't know. It's weird.
The open world's like super empty, but MVG for like $30-$40, I think it's a good pickup for that price.
Yeah. Yep. It's an interesting idea for some of the concepts in the game, like OJ mentioned with the combat and all this, and the story is all right, I think, but it's forgettable at this. Like all the stuff happening now in games, I'm gonna forget probably that Forspoken even came out by the time we get to the end of the year and we're talking about Game of the Year nominations and stuff. I mean, that I don't think anyone's really gonna bring up Forspoken, but it's a game that is probably going to fly under the radar years from now, and we just forget about it unless someone brings it up in some random obscure trivia or something. But that enough to take out Luminous Productions.
So that had nothing to do with NFTs either. So like they so they need to look at all these instances that we're bringing up, man. Like you can't just be dumping money into all this and it not working. Like
what? I also wonder if the development on Final Fantasy 16 made them very comfortable just basically getting away from that Luminous engine. I don't know what they do with the Luminous engine now. Is that it? It's over for that now? Like, why would they use it if they have this engine that seems to be working really well for Final Fantasy 16?
They should combine it with the Carbon engine and make something that'll just
there we go. Now we're talking.
Let's not dilute the brand. Come on, we're not combining anything.
That's the thing you'll see with Forspoken. Dude, that Luminous engine it's still just not good in terms of performance or even the visuals. I'm playing and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like the game doesn't look good enough to warrant the performance issues that it has. It's very weird. So
unfortunate for the teams. I know they were really looking forward to the launch of Forspoken, but they made some key mistakes with that game. They made some key mistakes that you don't make. Yeah,
maybe they got enough money from Sony with the timed exclusivity to kind of make up for it. And you know what? We tried. All right, let's go.
I don't think they're like that bummed about it. The chick who played it, she got her money. Everybody got their money, but obviously the game's not going to be. I mean, it did okay in the NPD, but I think it fell off after that. So.
Well, I'll be curious if they name this engine that they seem to have created from that Crystal, their Crystal Works stuff and Crystal Tools. See if they have a name for it and they just run with it from now on. Because if they have their own engine, they don't have to pay Unreal or Epic for. Although I think Final Fantasy, the remake series that's basically locked in Unreal at this point, and that didn't sell enough for them. I think I was like, that struggled to get over 5 million. So I think a lot's riding on 16, but. I think it'll do well. We'll see. Yep, that's it for Luminous engine or Luminous and probably the engine. A good 5-year run there, but really one project with Forspoken. And we have Discord question over there.
Oh yeah, we still got a couple. Do you think we'll see a remake of Rayman 2 for the N64?
Oh, interesting.
It's out of nowhere.
I mean,
with Ubisoft,
I'll always say yes to new games. So yes.
Ubisoft is they got their own problems. I don't know. I don't know if they're sitting around the corporate table like, you know what, Rayman 2. That's a little, but I would like it. Sure, why not? That'd be fun.
What is it? Rayman 2.
That's it. That's the one. I would like it just for fun because why not? I don't think it would cost them a ton of money to do it or anything, but I mean, they're trying to get this. They're trying to get Sands of Time remake. They got to get Sands of Time remake done before like just disaster strikes at Ubisoft in terms of canceling games and all of this. They got to get that game out. I need that to come back.
Why was the Xbox, PS2, GameCube generation so short?
Ooh, yeah, because the Xbox technically was only around for what, 4 years before the 360 came out.
I think it has to do with the timing around HD televisions, because if you recall, it was just before, 720p HD LCD flat screens were coming out. I mean, they were around, but those systems that era were not. I guess the Xbox, and I think all the system actually had component cables, so you could get like at least 480p, and the Xbox had 720p and 1080i, and I think the PS2 had 1080i or something. 1080i. But it was just before that period of like, HD TVs as a common thing in the house. So I felt like, it was just a shift to move to HD at that point.
I feel like the PS2 still got a good like six years out of it still.
Oh yeah. I mean, none of them like just disappeared, other than the Dreamcast, of course.
I mean, I think that because the PS2 dropped in Japan early 2000, and then it ran all the way until 2006 for the PS. They almost got 7 years out of that before the next system came out, and then obviously the thing just kept going. But it was Microsoft really wanted that early jump in 05, and kind of forced the issue.
HD visuals.
Yes.
Yeah, HD.
720p visuals, we'll say.
And I think it also coincided with the TVs becoming cheaper, because I remember the TVs were too expensive in like 2003, 2004, 2005. But by 2006, you could get really, not really good, but you can get 720p monitors. I remember I bought a Dell 720p for like, I think it was like $600 back in like 2000, when Gears of War came out, 2006. So I bought it with Gears of War and everything. And that was like, okay, that was affordable, for that TV at that. It was like 19 inches, 20 something inches. So I think that, like MVG's saying, they want to coincide with, the HD market, which it was a big thing back then.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
It was
exploded.
Because it was all about having a console in the living room that did everything. It was play video games, play movies, play DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be a one-stop solution for all your media.
HD just felt like a step, like a huge like even a bigger step than I think now at this point. Like it just felt like to me, Gears of War felt like this crazy big step, over what we got before. And that you needed that HD TV in order for it to look like that. Like if you didn't have it, wasn't going to look like that. You weren't going to be playing next gen.
We're coming from tube TVs. Yeah, that was a big change. Even if the resolution was still low that generation and they were upscaling and stuff, it still looked way better than what we were dealing with for tube. You couldn't read text in Dead Rising on the tube TV. I remember that. You couldn't read the text if you had an Xbox 360. It was a whole thing online. So those are the days, man. Those are the days.
Oh yeah.
Why are so many AA or AAA console to PC ports arriving with bugs such as poor frame rates?
PC ports?
The console to PC, specifically, I guess, because we've been talking about like Wolong and stuff, because they just have issues with frame rates. The person suggests, or asks rather, that it's because of the wide breadth, the plethora of hardware options that PC has that makes it difficult for that kind of maneuver.
Some of that, I guess some of that is true, because, you gotta, you have to support everything from your minimum, hardware specs to the maximum or the ones you recommend. I just think in general, it sounds a little, sucky to say this, but PC games don't get certified, so you don't submit them. I mean, you submit them to Steam and they'll approve it, but like it's not their job to test your game and find certification issues. So I think a lot of the times it's just a matter of, well, we'll just drop it on Steam and patch them as we go.
It's kind of the Wild West out there with PC.
It's a little bit. I definitely don't want to, make it sound like every studio does that, but in order to push a game to Steam, you don't have to submit it for certification. I think they do some stuff around the Steam Deck approvals, but other than that, it's your game, and if it's full of bugs, then it's on you almost, unless it does something really bad, like, reformat your operating system and do bad things, which I don't think that's even possible. It's really kind of on the developer to, make sure the game is working. And I just think it has to do with that at the end of the day.
Okay.
Try to tear through the rest of these.
Okay, we'll go through the rest of those. Yeah.
I'm craving more of Insomniac Spider-Man's sweet combat, traversal, and general gameplay, but I have beaten the game and can't wait until the PS5 game. What are my options?
Oh gosh, that's like that. Hey, Spider-Man 2 on the Xbox now. Like the original one. That has that kind of
large world traversal combat. I mean,
ooh, go back and play the original Prototype.
Yeah, you'd have to go old with like Prototype or
that's a good one. You could do Arkham City, kind of. Arkham City was fun. I liked Arkham City. Yeah, you haven't played that. I mean, I assume you have if you've played the newer Spider-Man. Although who knows? Maybe
there's a game on PS2. It's a Hulk game. It's good.
Ultimate Sunset Overdrive, Ultimate Destruction. Yeah, you're thinking
Ultimate Destruction, but that's too far back. Is it? That's too far back.
That's original. I don't think they ever made that backwards compatible, and probably because of licensing or something. Whether that's the issue run into. Hey, maybe it. Well, no. Does Xenia do the original Xbox? Or is that just 360 MG?
Just the 360.
Man.
Yep.
Someone's got to get on that. Well, that's also on the PS2. It's on the PS2. I saw the Xbox Series has
as well.
Yep. There we go. Never mind. Infamous. Yeah. That they need to get Infamous on the. I need an Infamous remaster on this one, a remake or something on the PS5. At least remaster and bring them up.
An Infamous remake would be incredible if they did that.
Even remaster though, just package them together and put it on the PS5, just so we have it. That's another game that's just stuck on the PS3. Man.
Yep.
That's annoying.
Are there any other NSO features you'd like to see added to the Game Boy app in addition to the filters and standard rewind and save points?
I have one request for NSO. Let me turn off those borders. That's all.
Oh yeah.
Let me turn them off.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'm still not really sure why they just make you leave them on. Like if you have an OLED screen and you could turn those borders off, it looks so much better.
That's all I want.
I'm not sure why that like it stops there. I don't know. There's got to be some reason behind the scenes for that. At least I like to imagine it is. Otherwise, transfer pack, link cable support if we get those Pokemon games, or just things that'll interact and just kind of tie the entire application suite together, because they do still feel very separate. But if you could have the Game Boy and the N64 kind of react to each other with those applications, that could be kind of fun. So
yeah, because they are separate. So yeah, I would just like one area,
one app. They tried to do it with that that little button that you have on the, but it's slower. You're going through a web browser. Just launches the app.
It's the closest thing to a folder they have, and it sucks.
That seems like something they would do when they move to the next system and bring NSO like that app with it. Because it's just emulation anyway. They just make it so they rename it something Nintendo Online. There you go. And then it's just, you go in there and everything's laid out.
Each system is there. It's actually okay on the, it's organized cool on the web browser thing, but it's just too slow. That thing's just too slow in general. So yeah, that would be like my one.
This is where they get creative though. They make it. Here's how they do this. All right, they got Nintendo Online. You go in the application. It's set up like it's your bedroom, and you have all of the cartridges on the shelves, and you can use your silver coins that you get, and you buy posters and things for the walls, and you dress it up, and you do all this cool stuff, and you tie it together like this little area that you have with all your cartridges on the shelf.
They've tried this before. Remember, what was it? I can't. It was on the Xbox 360 where they had that virtual arcade. You'd walk in and you'd walk up to an arcade machine. Yeah. You'd pick up a coin. I can't remember what it was called.
PlayStation Home?
There's a Sega compilation that does this where you're in your bedroom and you have your stuff on the shelf. But they could do so much more with it, just updated throughout an entire generation, and it would do the improve their engagement, and they would have basically achievements, because they kind of have achievements now, and you get silver coins, and that'd be really fun. I don't know. You could buy old posters that they have the rights to. Imagine the library of stuff they could pull from.
That should be like the one of the number one priorities for them. When it comes down, like really good integration of the NSO. Like not this. It seems like it was added. Obviously, it was added on later, right? Yeah. It was not thought from the very beginning. It seemed like they wanted to do it, but they didn't have what they needed yet. So that integration needs to be a lot sexier. It needs to be a lot better. Like John was saying, like you need to create that engagement, get people hooked on that. And with the missions, they're good, But if you can tie them together and have it fully like listed and everything, I think it could even be better. So yeah, that would be that would be great. I like that idea.
Goldie mentions PlayStation Home. I think Sony's bringing back a new iteration of PlayStation Home, so I think that's going to happen anyway for them. But yes, sure, Nintendo can do something very similar, but it would kind of be a room that you would have to yourself. Sort of, I guess. Well, Splatoon 3 has the locker set up, and people can just kind of come look at it. So I don't know. Maybe you can make it public, and people can just check out what you have up. That'd be
I don't need it to be like Second Life. I know because I played PlayStation Home back in the day. I just thought that was kind of corny.
No one needs it to be Second Life.
I don't just give me a little spot that's my own, like I can just like do.
But it'd be fun if people could show up and like I don't know, interact somewhat, leave something to show that they were there, that kind of thing,
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be like fun. If it was like like the NSO, like you could invite people like on the NSO if you want to play, and like those people will be in your room or whatever, right? Like they'll be and like, they can see and like you can pick a game. That would be cool. I just don't need like I'm going out to the mall and everything.
No.
Like
just fun ways to kind of expand on Nintendo Online and make it feel like kind of that community setting they had, even with like Miiverse and stuff.
We have someone looking to get into VR on PC. He's already writing off PSVR 2 since its lack of Half-Life Alyx, and also it's not currently working on PC, I guess. He's looking at the Valve Index. He's wondering if that's still like a really good option, or if he should probably wait since the Valve Index has been out for 4 years and maybe something else is coming along.
I think I have to imagine Valve's doing something different soon. That would be really weird if they held onto this headset for like another 2 or 3 years or something. And really for Sony, they just need to announce PC support for this PSVR 2. Like, come on, let's get real here, Sony. Having it on PC will help significantly when it comes to the overall user base you can sell to. And I got to be honest, I don't know if the PSVR 2 is doing like crazy numbers.
Have they announced Gran Turismo 7 for PC? Is that on the list?
No, I think they talked about it, but I don't think they played it off like it's not in development. Come on. Gran Turismo 7's going to PC eventually.
Right. That's the key thing, right? If they announce that, then you would hope that they bring the VR support with it over.
Yeah, I get that headset working on PC. At least have drivers ready to go, Sony. And I'm telling you, you'll have, I think, a lot of people interested in that headset then because it's priced well for the PC market. So get them involved, and then you can link it to your games and stuff that you bring over.
All right, for John and I, out of curiosity, do you find people comment on old, outdated Newswave videos? And if so, what do they usually say? I mean, you might see it more.
I think I've seen it a few times. It's kind of recently, too, over the last week or two. Sometimes they just comment on whatever's being said.
Isn't it usually like age like milk or age like wine, depending on the subject matter?
No, sometimes they'll comment like it's happening today. And it's kind of funny. And I think about it, sometimes the topics are things that sometimes you cover reviews and people will just comment on the reviews that are going on, or it's something that is still ongoing, like Metroid Prime 4. I think that was one that got commented last, or there might have been something about Perfect Dark on the Xbox. It was an old game that has not come out yet or even been seen. I think it was one of those two that got comments. So it happens, but.
And then the last one's just a troll comment for if Sean was here, but I guess he's in a fruit-based coma. We're not sure.
Rip.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Sean. We'll get him. We'll get him next week.
They're just wondering when he decided to become a full-time Nintendo YouTuber. So
we'll ask him on that one. Yeah, I don't think he's a Nintendo YouTuber though.
I mean, he says he's not.
I don't think he is.
I think he is.
He's not here to
depends on the topic.
So he is. This is. Let me go over some of the super chats. I'll check Streamlabs as well. Make sure I have those. This is from Matthew. Says, appreciate your guys' efforts every week. Thank you, Matthew. Joel says, someone get MVG a PSVR 2. We'll love to see his review. It would be cool if you guys play games while live streaming as well. I promise to super chat.
I'll get a PSVR 2 eventually.
MVG's gonna get one.
I'll get one eventually.
He's just fronting right now. He's gonna.
I just want more. That's all. And hopefully we'll get it. We'll get it this year. We'll see.
EJ says toilet paper switch game over Labo. People have talked about that. I haven't checked that. Apparently you put the Joy-Con in a roll of toilet paper and roll it around, and that's the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Liam says, why would Nintendo bother taking down the leak after the Pokemon announcement unless there was still unconfirmed info in there? In this case, next gen. No bother taking it. It was a whole thing with a forum where people have taken pictures of the Switch Lite before when it was in manufacturing. That's apparently what happened there. This is from Pop Fever saying, I feel so bad for PlayStation having to release docs that will expose their dirty third-party practices. Psych, karma, deal with it, Sony. I am curious how that goes. Which
I cannot wait to see those numbers.
That's going to be interesting. I mean, a lot of redactions, but people are going to try to fill in the blanks and figure it out. And Microsoft's going to see a lot of information, I think. So that Sony's probably probably not happy about that. That seems like it backfired a bit.
Jim Ryan's scrubbing his emails right now.
Right.
Scrubbing the bank account. He's like, damn, we gotta shift money. Let's go into our Algerian bank account here. Let's move back.
South Coast says, have you guys seen the YouTube videos of former U.S. presidents debating video games and tier lists? Funniest content I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
Go
they do
watch
the
it.
AI voice and scripting and stuff for it.
Oh, man.
There's ones where they're playing Destiny raids and yelling at each other.
We're in for a dark future, man.
I did see one really nerdy one on Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, and it was really funny. It was really, really funny.
Blake says, this may be blasphemous here, but as a first-time Dead Space player, somehow I missed the original, I like Callisto better than Dead Space Remake. Anyone else?
What?
No, I like Dead Space more.
I don't speak for Nate, but I feel like Nate would agree with that comment.
I think RGT would agree with that too. I think he really liked
man, what?
From what people talk about, they're mechanically different enough that you are going to get people who enjoy one over the other, it sounds like.
Man. Xbox Has No Game says, bought a Vita for $75. If I hack it, can I access Vita games as well as old systems? SoulMG spawns and RGT's videos on the Vita. If Square won't remake Parasite Eve, I'll play it myself.
Yeah, you can play old games. You can play PS1 games natively, or not natively. It's got some emulation layer, but yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with the Vita.
Play PSP games. You can play all the PS Vita games.
Yep. Got some good, cool emulators on there as well. Some N64. There's a Dreamcast emulator. I mean, it's not perfect, but you can play Dreamcast games on it.
Let's see. This is from Aaron says, Square should give Acquire the Final Fantasy assets and make a new spinoff called Final Fantasy Classic. Let's see. Michael says, Nintendo never grew up with its fans. This is why they can get away with all of this. Is that for the Pokemon stuff? I'm trying to think of when this came in.
Pokemon? I think he's probably talking about Pokemon.
Yeah, the Pokemon Company and Game Freak and all of this.
No, they can get away with it because there's no other competition. If there was some other thing that was as popular as Pokemon and as good, they wouldn't be able to get away with it. But Pokemon is just a unique entity that nobody else makes at the level that they're making it. It's just you can't buy Pokemon somewhere else. And everything else is nowhere near as good. People didn't go out there and buy Digimon like that. They don't buy other stuff. So that's the reason why they can get away with it, because there is literally no other competition that can even compete at what Pokemon does. At least that's what I think. Like, what else is like Pokemon that you can buy that's like, oh, screw this game, I'm going to buy this instead. With RPGs, you can do it. With action games, you can do it. Oh, Devil May Cry messes up. There's Bayonetta. There's God of War. There's something else that's high quality. But with Pokemon, I think that's why people are hoping that Temtem would have worked out better. Nobody went out and bought Temtem. Temtem's actually good, but nobody went out. People were like, good. Well, it's okay. It's not good. It's okay. But it does a lot of things that people complained about that Pokemon doesn't, like the Nuzlocke and stuff like that. And people didn't rush out there and go buy Temtem, and it looks okay. It has good performance for the most part. And people didn't go buy that. People didn't buy Digimon Cyber Sleuth. That's available on all platforms. So people aren't even buying the other things that come out and that are solid, that up Pokemon in some ways, like they're not even buying those.
Pokemon name is strong.
Yeah. So it's just the brand that it's the branding. It has nothing to do with anything else. Somebody needs to come out with something else that's really good that can somehow rival it. But Steve asked, you guys play the Pokemon Infinite Fusion game? I have not.
Nope. No.
I'm not sure what that is.
Is that the browser one where you get the two Pokemon and then click fuse and it kind of creates like a weird fake one?
I don't know.
Wasn't it that Logan Paul game that never came out?
No, that was Egg, I think.
Create your own. Oh, yes. It looks like he fused. Interesting. Okay. Huh. Riken says, I think people forget that Final Fantasy isn't just a combat system, though. World building, music, story, drama, epic sets. Those are more factors that defines it. However, I'm with OJ on a high quality Final Fantasy turn-based spinoff.
Yeah, well, even like the themes and stuff of this Final Fantasy are different. Like they talked about, hey, is there mini games? Nah, that doesn't fit.
This looks really serious.
Yeah, it's like, it's too serious, which Final Fantasy's never really been like. There's always been some interesting things and silliness, but I guess this one's different, right? So, but no, yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, I agree. Like, it's fine. The game's gonna be good. It'll come out, people will like it.
Patrick says, Secret of Evermore over Secret of Mana, fight me.
Pull up. Secret of Mana is way better than Secret of Evermore. Yeah, I like Secret of Evermore, but no,
Secret of Mana is definitely better.
That's not a good take.
And on top of that, you could play Secret of Mana like back in the day with 3 of the homies. That was really cool. That was an incredible wow. Like Secret of Evermore, you can't do that. You can't control somebody else with the dog or whatever. Right? Or can you? I don't know. I don't think
I spoke too soon, says late to the party, but with 3DS and Wii U store closing later this month, do you think there's any correlation with this and the new NSW rumors coming out now?
No. I think they're completely separate things.
Let's see. God says, thoughts on Final Fantasy 16 possible flop like Final Fantasy 15? I think 16 is going to do. I think 16 is going to do pretty well. Like I think it's going to hit 10 million fairly easily.
15 didn't flop. The game did. That's like one of the best selling Final. I think it might be the best selling Final Fantasy.
I think it did. It got right up against 10 million sold. Right? It was like there.
I think it's even above that. I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think it's even. So Final Fantasy 15 didn't flop. That's not true. It did have a rough launch.
It did have yeah. But I don't think it flopped in terms of losing the money or anything.
No, they made plenty of money off Final Fantasy 15. It sold well. I mean, it sold for like $7 at one point or $10 at one point, but I mean, it still sold really well overall.
Zion says, how likely will Hogwarts Legacy Online ever exist? Probably in a sequel or the next one. I'll make a next one. Duan says, what's up? What's up, OJ? How you doing tonight? I do got a crusher as a question. If it would be quite a games Persona 6 it's combat that would.
I'm hoping
John versus Mr. Davis is the never ending, the eternal struggle.
I'm hoping that's some kind of like voice to text issue. Like
John versus Mr. Davis.
Go ahead. You can read that. Go ahead and read that. Read it.
Read it. Go ahead and read it.
I put it in the Discord for you.
What's up, OJ? How you doing tonight? I got a question.
Tottenham Games.
Let's see here. How many?
Is it the combat? Would it change? Are they asking if the combat?
Okay, so he's asking if Platinum Games could make a Persona game where they would change the combat to be more like Platinum's action. So Persona 6, would it be like Platinum would come in, or could they make a game that was like that? Okay. Action like that. That's the question.
Didn't they do a Persona in the
like the warrior style, right?
The warrior
strikers,
style.
It has some warriors elements. It's an action RPG, so they did do that, but it's not quite. It doesn't play like a Bayonetta game or like something like that, or like a Devil May Cry. That's what he wants. He was thinking, hey, can they make a Persona game that would play like that? Almost kind of like how Final Fantasy 16 is completely moving away, right, from what you see like a traditional action RPG like Final Fantasy 15 and into more of like Devil May Cry game, right? So he's asking if Persona could do the same thing, and
could.
Yeah, they could.
I wouldn't mind seeing Platinum get kind of access to that stylish series, because they're very stylish as well with a lot of their titles. I think that'd be kind of cool. I mean, see their spin on it and what they could do. And again, I believe Sega should be doing a lot with Persona as it is. Kind of like Square's do a lot of Final Fantasy. Sega and Atlas do a lot with Persona.
I would love to see a Persona game like where you can use the different Persona characters, like the main characters, and like you can switch between them. And like an action-based RPG, you put it in some other type of where they somehow meet up together, like Persona Q, right? Some type of weird, stupid thing that happens where they meet up together and they can play, or you can switch characters and you can play like that. That would be super cool. I mean, if you've played with Joker in Super Smash Brothers, like It's almost kind of like Joker feels incredible in that game, just moving him around and being able to fight like that. So I think that would be dope to see.
Yeah, I say do all kinds of cool spinoffs. Why not? Do a bunch of spinoffs for Final Fantasy, do a bunch for Persona. Go for it.
You got your main team keeping it for the fans, but then you can always do something else with other stuff. Just try it out.
Why not? Why not? Do we have any other Discord questions, Evan?
No, we're good.
Okay, I'm gonna check Streamlabs before we do outros. Liam says, with the closure of with the closure of 3DS Wii U, how much longer do you think Pokemon Bank services will be available? You think it's possible they'll ever update it to make transferring between Gen 6 and 7 offline so it can still be done somehow after it goes down? Jordan, you know anything about the Pokemon Bank situation?
No, I don't use it.
Okay. The offline stuff would be weird because my understanding is the Pokemon Company is very concerned about people cheating the system a bit, hacking the Pokemon, any of that kind of stuff that could affect, I guess, the competitive scene. Or like that's one of the reasons apparently we can't even do cloud saves with the current Pokemon games. So, yeah. 3D says the big level 5 event is also on March 9th, and Deca Police looks great. Do you have any predictions for the future of Yokai on the Switch for the West?
Need a localization, hopefully, of the Yokai Watch plus whatever.
Plus, there we go.
Plus, yeah, Pokemon Plus. We need a localization of that game because it's a very good action RPG.
Is there anything we can boycott about that Yokai game? Can we get one? Can we start one? Hey, I'm just trying to help out.
How do the trees look in that game?
Yeah.
On a much smaller scale compared to Final Fantasy, there was a little bit of a rebellion when fans of Yokai Watch saw that game. They're like, wait a minute, that's not Yokai Watch compared to like what they're doing on the 3DS. So, and fans, they didn't buy it. They just were like, we're not buying this. Like, they just flat out didn't go out there and buy it. Level 5 is like, no, but it's good.
That's how you really do a boycott.
Yeah. Yeah, Yokai Watch fans actually legitimately boycotted the
we found a working one. Awesome.
The Japanese fans were just like, no, we're good.
Emperor says water is wet. Thanks, Emperor. And Jen says, I don't get the Saints Row slander. It's the same gameplay structure as Saints Row 3, and I enjoy both. The dialogue isn't the greatest, but it's goofy and stupid enough to keep me going. The lack of sound effects and music is pretty weird, though. Eerie.
I had to rebuild my system files after playing that game. I couldn't edit Newswave that night after playing that game.
That game, dude. That game is pretty messed up in terms of just like like living as a game. It is wild stuff what you run into there. But then I mean some of the side jobs were boring because it's just the same thing over and over again. And to build the skyscraper at the end of the whole thing, you got to do all of them. And I'm like, I'm not doing this all. Like, I'm not doing all of this. It was just boring there. But I don't know, it was campy in a bad way. It felt like it was campy in a way that people who made it were trying. That it's that meme where he walks in like, how do you do, fellow kids? It was that for like 15 hours, and I was like, ugh, this game. So I can't agree with that. I'm a huge fan of it. Callan Shaw, is Metroid Fusion a stylistic prequel to Dread? You're being pursued like Emmy, centers around the X more than Metroid. I'm so happy Fusion is coming to NSO, by the way. That was amazing.
You can play all the 2D Metroids.
Yeah, and it comes in a great time with Dread. I mean, really doing well. So you bring in Fusion. We would, I guess, do Zero Mission.
Oh yeah, you can't play that one.
I mean, I think Zero Mission will come eventually. It was a part of that Sloop leak. It was on that list of games that they were testing. So I feel like Zero Mission is coming at some point.
Yeah, probably.
This is the year of Metroid, so it's probably getting announced later.
They're pushing Metroid pretty hard. Metroid Prime Remastered is doing incredible. Still number one on each one.
Yeah. So we're gonna have basically one platform that's gonna play all of them, especially if Prime 2 and 3 just remastered show up, and then we get Prime 4. You buy the Switch, you have access to basically all the Metroid games.
And then that Federation Force, can't wait for that one.
Oh gosh, we can forget about that. That's fine. I can stay wherever. It can stay where it is.
3DS?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Let me go around here. Thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. Let's start with OJ. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube, Player Essence. Got some cool just RPG videos for you guys, all right? Coming up, in addition to streaming as well. So if you want to check that out, also I run the pre-show every single week. So if you want to drop by for that, so if you like streaming and you like RPG games and Nintendo titles as well, I'll be checking out Final Fantasy 16. I'll be doing a lot of stuff on that leading up to launch. Bayonetta is coming out as well. Origins games looking kind of cool. So I'll be covering that, and of course Zelda as well. So a lot of content on all those games coming up.
Okay, let me go over to Jordan.
Yeah, you can find me on Jordan Fringe or Jordan Fringe Gaming. I've put out several hours of Pokemon-related deep dives this past week. Yesterday, I put out a very different video that I had a lot of fun with, talking about MTV in the early 2000s and the weird shows that came out then, and I'm really proud of that video. But yeah, so check those out if you're interested. Thanks for having me.
Real quick question, Jordan. I haven't seen that video yet. Did you talk about Daria in there?
No, I specifically left out a lot of larger shows and a lot of more obscure ones if I wanted to do a part 2, but I cover a lot of interesting ones in this video.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely. I just wanted to know maybe like where the Daria part was. Maybe I could just. That's like my favorite MTV show from like back in the day.
Go to MVG.
You can find me on Twitter at Modern Vintage G. And by the way, I'm giving away a copy sealed Metroid Prime Remastered.
Okay.
Yes.
So check out my Twitter channel. It's on the pinned comment. If you want to get entered to join, I'm giving it away next Friday, so I'll be drawing a winner.
Let me just give you my address, MVG. I'm gonna message you right now.
Yeah.
Just keep going. I'm just
I'll put you on the no winners list. No problem.
Right alongside Nate.
You can find me on YouTube at Modern Vintage Gamer. I got a video coming out on Monday, and that's about it. Maybe a Nate the Hate. We haven't really had much to talk about, but I think we'll probably get an episode out next week.
Okay, then what about Evan?
Find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, pretty much anywhere at Kimmerix Project. If you like tabletop games, I try to put a video out every week. I think I'm going to do a painting one. I just went through all my B-roll of some painting stuff I did with my Iron Warriors, and I got a ton of videos, so I think I can throw one together, which is nice. Do a light video this week, because I almost burned out last week. 3 days for that video on Friday. Ugh.
Oof.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us for the Spawncast tonight. We're back next Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see you guys then.
I'm gonna kill them all.